わふわふわりくるくるくるくるくるくる回るのふわふわふよふよふわふわりうるるくるくるふわふわ飛び出したのおやおやふよふよ増える頭ふよふよふわふわり飛び出すよふよふよふわふわふわ増える頭ふわふわふわわふわ飛び出すよふわりふわりふわわふわふわふわわふわふわふわふわふわ頭が増える増え頭増え増えるふよふよよ増える増え増えるえるえる増えるふわふわふわりふわ頭飛び出すぴょんぴょんぴょんぴょんああコロコロがる転がる転がるガルガルガルラララララララわ頭だけ池にドボン頭だけ池にドボンうわわ頭だけ池にドボンまた頭だけが池にジャブジャブ頭だけが池にドボン頭だけが池に沈んでく頭だけが池にドボンあわわ息ができない頭だけ池にドボン頭だけ池にドボンうわわ頭だけ池にドボンまた頭だけが池にジャブジャブ頭だけが池にドボン頭だけが池に沈んでく頭だけが池にドボンあわわ息ができないそれなんだぷくぷくぷくぷかぷかぷかり頭浮き浮かびぷかぷかさまよ森にくっつかれていたりちょんちょんちょんちょんぷかぷかチクチクふるふるふるえるよぷかりぷかりふわわふわふわふわわふわわふわふわふわふわ頭が増える増え頭増え増えるふよふよよ増える増え増えるえる増えるふわふわふわりふわ頭飛び出すぴょんぴょんぴょんぴょんああ飛び出す飛び出し飛び出しますふわふわふわわふわ空飛ぶ頭だけ空に飛ぶ頭だけ空に飛ぶわわ頭だけ空に飛ぶまた頭だけが空にふわふわ頭だけが空に飛ぶ頭だけが空にふわふわり頭だけ空に飛ぶまた頭だけが空にふわふわ頭だけ空に飛ぶ頭だけ空にドカンうわわ頭だけ空にドカンまた頭だけが空にふわふわ頭だけが空にドカン頭だけが空にふわふわり頭だけが空にドカンあわわすごく高い頭だけ空に飛ぶ頭だけ空に飛ぶうわわ頭だけ空に飛ぶまた頭だけが空にふわふわ頭だけが空に飛ぶ頭だけが空にふわふわり頭だけ空に飛ぶまた頭だけが空にふわふわ頭だけ空に飛ぶ頭だけ空にドカンうわわ頭だけ空にドカンまた頭だけが空にふわふわ頭だけが空にドカン頭だけが空にふわふわり頭だけが空にドカンあわわ空の彼方へ一直線
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Another stream we're doing today. I'm going to do more about the VIC stuff. I think I'm going to be covering a lot more of this on this channel. Just some updates. First I want to get a quick thing out of the way. Because in the last video, someone sent me a correction telling me that Ty Beard was not in every other video of Nick Rekieta's stream since the GoFundMe. He was only in 5 of them, which, yeah, that's accurate. He wasn't in half the videos since then. That was wrong word for me to use. However, it does confirm that it is notable that Ty Beard is using Nick Rekieta's show in order to, etc. Okay, someone's saying I'm quiet. Let me see if I can fix that. Hold on a second. All right, let's see here. Let me know if it improves. Just give me a moment. Okay. 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 Should be back now. All right. All right. Let me know if you can hear me. I don't know why it keeps doing that. I have the worst audio quality ever. Boomers point and laugh at my stream. They drink their sugar-free monsters and they say, "Wow, even I could do better than that." All right, so let's just get right into it. I'm going to be debating someone tonight on the subject of the lawsuit that Nick Rekieta's funding, the one that he's totally good that Dick is totally going to win. He's going to go ahead. He's going to exonerate himself, even though like that's not at all how the lawsuit works. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. I don't want to I don't want to get ahead of myself in this debate. So let me just meet the guy in Discord, and we'll start. I'll let him have his say. Then I'll give my position out, and then we'll go back and forth, and we'll see if there's a winner. All right. So I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna move him down here. Hello, you're on the air. Oh, hold on a second. One moment, please. Again, I have the worst audio quality ever. Just keep that in mind. Okay, that should fix everything. All right. Hey, you're on the air. Do you care to introduce yourself, Mr. J-Man?
Yes, I'm J-Man the Dual Blade, and I have my own YouTube.
Give me 1 second. Your volume is really low. Can you fix that?
Hold on, let me see if I can.
Don't sweat it.
Is that better?
Yes, you're better. And like I said, don't sweat it. Like I said, you cannot beat my audio quality, like as far as terribleness goes. So you're looking good by comparison. Don't worry about that. All right.
All right. Well, it does help that I have a professional grade microphone.
Okay, that's good. I'm using a shitty old headset. It's actually not that shitty. It's actually I imagine it's better than whatever Jim's using these days. But anyway. All right. So I'll let you have your piece. Do you want to get right into the debate, or is there anything you want to set up first?
I have all I need for the debate, but I did pay attention to your previous live stream, and I've gotta say there were some, I'll say, interesting points that you had brought up in regards to the Vic situation, as well as the GoFundMe.
Sure. Do you want to get started on that, or do you want to talk about the lawsuit in general?
I can go ahead and do the GoFundMe first. Work our way up.
Okay, sure.
Now, in your previous live stream, you said that the GoFundMe said legal defense, and that that is a straight up lie.
Yeah,
Uh,
like there's no doubt about it. I mean, at least in my mind. But go ahead, finish your point.
here's here's the problem with it being a straight up lie. Legal defense doesn't necessarily have to mean uh, criminal defense or something like that. It could also refer to defense of reputation, which Vic did suffer with the with his reputation due to the whole sexual predator stuff.
Well, the issue there is that, like, yeah, this is one could say this is a means of Vic to defend himself. It's how it's often framed whenever someone who's in support of the lawsuit talks about it. But the problem with that is that it says it's his legal defense, and yeah, he's not under criminal charges, but that's the thing. Like, he's not in a defense role at all. He's the plaintiff. He's the guy who's suing them. And the reason I say it's a straight up lie, because, it could have been a mistake. Maybe Nick had a different idea in mind at the time when he wrote it. Maybe he thought differently, but it's still up there. Like, I've tweeted directly at him that, hey, this is false. Fix this shit. And he refuses to change it.
Well, like I said, it also is the wording is a little odd. I will admit that. But in terms of this Vic being a plaintiff and all that, yeah, he's switched to positions because before he was the defendant in Twitter court, which I'll call it, because he wasn't getting doing a legal well, now I see the quandary here because I was about to say legal defense for the reputation. I think I just I just helped with the GoFundMe point. Uh, he did he didn't have any defense for his reputation legally. I'll say.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just, it doesn't make sense as a good it doesn't make sense to have there. The only reason I can think of it to be there, the only reason it's there is because it makes Vic look more sympathetic by phrasing it that way. Like, that's it, and it's highly misleading, and it's wrong for Nick to just leave it there, even after multiple people have corrected him on the issue.
Well, either way, um, I will say this: Monica Rial, JB Markey, and several others on Kickback have blocked me. Some of which I've never even interacted with, or haven't interacted with in months. One such case is Dominique Sky. I never interacted with her. I never said anything about her. She blocked me. DC Douglas, same thing. Never interacted with him. Never talked to him. Never talked about him. Blocked. So, and that's where I have to say that the Vic situation is a little more complicated than you might realize. It's not straight up black and white, and in fact, I even have Nick Rekida's uh, uh, look up on the Minnesota attorney search, and yeah, he's certainly there. I looked up Nicholas Rekieta. He's in the system.
Well, I don't think people deny that Nick Rekieta is a lawyer. Like, the first thing I did when I heard of this guy, that was way before even the Vic case came up, was I looked to see, okay, is he legit when he calls himself a lawyer? Because anyone can go online and just say they're a lawyer, but no, he's registered. He does have a law degree. He does have some form or another of a law firm. Like, that's not really the issue, though.
Well, also, there have been attacks on the GoFundMe, and not a single one has stuck. So either Nick is one really, really, really good con artist, the one of likes has never been seen, or he's telling the truth. That's the only possibility.
Well, no, it really isn't, because Kickstarters and GoFundMe's and other crowdfunding ventures often enable people who have ulterior motives or they're just dishonest to go on there and basically either exaggerate what it is they're doing, not fulfill their promises, or just straight up lie to people all the time and just get people to pay more money to them. Like for example, a famous one being Feminist Frequency's Kickstarter for Tropes versus Women. Like she duped all those people out of money, and there was no accountability for that. Like she never finished her series, and it was just basically a big scheme to like fund SJW and feminism, which some people argue, well, that's what they wanted, but that doesn't make it right. Like, and there's also been other cases like Star Citizen, where they basically, like, what is it, like update number 5,000 at this point? I don't even know if that thing ever come out. Like, I stopped paying attention to it for a while, but the thing is, that there's nothing stopping people from just using it. And I've talked about other things all the time on this channel, like, for example, Count Dankula's fundraiser. What the hell is he doing with that? How much money was it? Like, I think it was $250,000. Like, it was about as much as Nick's getting, and Dankula can't do shit with the money.
Well, also, if you look at Nick Rekieta's, if you look at the GoFundMe, you'll see that it's not him. And Ty Beard on one of Nick's live streams actually admitted that he was getting the money. So I don't see where the problem is. And I even have Ron Toye's deposition live stream that Nick did, I don't know when, a week, maybe 2 weeks ago. And sure enough, Ty Beard's in the room and deposing Ron Toye.
Okay, so there's a couple of issues with Ty Beard's end of things. The first one being that, like, the first one that you alluded to would be that Nick's not getting the money. The fact of the matter is, him raising all this money is the thing he wants. He doesn't care about the actual donations. He doesn't need that money. I don't know how much money Nick's getting, but he's getting tens of thousands of dollars from the super chats at least. And I'm willing to guess that he's getting hundreds of thousands of dollars from the super chats. Like, doesn't he do it? Like, he does live streams all the time, and every time I tune in, there's dozens of people giving $10, $20. Sometimes people throw in hundreds of dollars all the time. And not to mention, we don't know. And then there's his Patreon where he's getting like a few $100s a month, plus his T-shirt sales, which we have no idea how much he's making that, and his other goods that he has right below his video. And also, his videos are on top of that; they're monetized with ads. So the benefit that the quid quo pro that Nick Rekieta gets out of it is exposure. He grows his name, his popularity, his brand, and expands across the internet. And the two are and the GoFundMe and Nick Rekieta's personality are fundamentally linked to the hip. If you want updates on the GoFundMe, you can't get them like not as detailed as Nick will tell you on his channel. You have to go to his channel for that, and you can't go to the GoFundMe for it. So Nick benefits directly from it, even if he's not taking money directly from the GoFundMe account itself.
Well, you mentioned how Nick Rekieta is getting ads, right?
Yes.
He's not getting ad revenue anymore. Sony did a copyright claim during one of the depositions.
I remember this. I don't know if Sony did that because it could have been someone pretending to be Sony. We don't really know the details of it, or at least I don't. If you want to correct me on that, go ahead. But I do recall, and I believe that tweet's still up. Nick said that the copyright claim was taken down. So there's definitely ads up there, and I myself know this because I had my ad block off when I watched one of his videos, and an ad played right at the beginning of it.
Well, I watched the live stream last night, and nothing came up. But it is a little bit of a weird situation. Anyway, Nick Rekieta, he may be getting exposure. I mean, come on, everybody wants to get exposure for something, okay? And even me, I was trying to get exposure on my YouTube channel covering the Vic situation. That's not working out because I'm repeating myself too much, and instead, I'm probably most likely going to focus on writing a story and doing voice acting.
Yeah, but there's a big difference between you getting exposure and someone who's lying and getting exposure. Like, if you're selling yourself as something you're not, or you're selling yourself based on merit that you don't have, or a thing that's just a scam or scheme, then that's just fraud. Like, it's just that plain and simple, and it goes on a lot where the end goal isn't necessarily money. It's people. It's to get people. It's to develop a following, and the bigger that following is, the more they can get people to look more at their stuff. And the more people look at their stuff, the more they can get money from ads, money from donations, money from merchandise, money from sponsorship deals, etc., so on and so forth. Like, that's the name of the game when it comes to YouTube. And what I would say most people would do on here is they just cheat. They cheat, lie, and steal. And I don't see Nick being exempt from that criticism at all.
Well, I won't say he is. That's up to him. I mean, I know that he's a bit. He said he's a bit talking with GoFundMe often, and that that money is in a separate account that he has no access to, but Ty Beard does. So I'm not sure if it's true or not, and I don't think anybody on Kickback is besides Ty Beard, or not Kickback. I stand with Vic. Only Ty Beard and Nick Ricada would know exactly where the GoFundMe is going, and if Ty Beard is actually getting the money, but Vic isn't, that is client lawyer privilege and can't be disclosed at all to the public.
There's a problem with that, though. This is a public venture, and there's no way for people to get updates as to how the money is being spent. There's not even vague details, like, is Ty Beard charging an hourly rate? Is he charging just for the whole case a one lump sum? Where exactly is this money going? Because it's a lot of money that Ty Beard has at his disposal.
Yes, that is true. Uh, but at the same point in time, but I've seen how many pe- people that have ruined Vic's reputation could be involved in this lawsuit. I mean, we have the creator of the Kickvic hashtag, Mars Girl. We have uh, Han Leia, who has been trying to get Vic fired for years. We have possibly some other voice actors. I just know some of the big ones that will probably be involved, and I know I'm forgetting some of the big ones. One of them I forgot to mention was ANN, Beth Elderkin, the news articles that started making this situation, this spiral, out of control, and got us to where we are now.
Well, there's an issue there. Like, yeah, I'm aware that Nick has a long list of people that he wants to go after. The biggest one's actually Sony, not any of those people. But
Wait a minute. Nick wants to go.
yeah, no, he said on the record that there's a possibility he might be able to go after and sue Sony.
Yeah, Nick may be able to sue Sony for the copyright thing, but Nick is in no way directly involved with this case. He's a journalist at best.
I mean, like, I wouldn't call Nick a journalist in any context, but we'll table that one for now. But there's one name that you mentioned there that's kind of weird, that kind of like gives another indication as to what the motivations for this GoFundMe are really about. How do you sue Mars Girl exactly? What did she do that's illegal?
I glad you mentioned that because I do have a screen cap of her talking to someone saying that it seems like we got rid of Vic, so now we can possibly focus on cleaning up the anime community even more. So there was more subjects to go after Vic. The problem is they didn't expect the Vic support to be this gargantuan.
Okay, but I mean, we can call Mars Girl's I mean, like, even if we assume the worst of that, like, Mars Girl wants to get rid of a bunch of people that are innocent from the anime community, make sure they have no influence for ulterior motives. That's still not, like, something you can sue someone for, at least not a case you can win.
Actually, that is a case you can win since it does show tortious interference with the business relations.
Well, there's an issue with that. When it comes to torturous interference, you need to establish there's a civil wrong involved, and the person's not just exercising their rights.
How is threatening to get people booted out for basically nothing any indication of rights? Because I actually have the broken staircase list of people within the convention scene, both professionals and guests, and some of them are literally nothing, while others, oh yeah, they're horrendous. But Vix is one of the ones that are just head scratching.
The issue there is that it's not illegal. Is the best way I can say it. Like in America, generally speaking, your speech is protected under the First Amendment. Like that's the simplest way I can answer it. Like you can make vague threats and no. In fact, making vague threats and notions, even if they have violent connotations, in most cases is perfectly legal. Once you get start, now of course, once you start getting specific, like oh, I'm going to do da 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 to so and so on such and such date, then you get into some, then you start crossing some lines. But to like make a vague notion like we're going to clean up the anime community, there's nothing really actionable there. There's no one that can sue because she's not really targeting anyone. There's no one that like it doesn't really make sense, and I'm questioning why Mars Girl was considered someone that could be suable in the first place. Like this one always left me scratching my head because, as far as I know, Mars Girl repeated some rumors that she heard and she believed them as fact. Which you could say the rumors were false, but she was listening to other people's words. That's perfectly valid defense if you want to get her out of defamation. And she started a hashtag that rallied more people to be mad at Vic and want Vic removed from conventions. Like arranging for someone to get deplatformed or fired, that's not illegal. A lot more celebrities would be suing if that was the case. I mean, look at Roseanne Barr. She can't sue because ABC fired her after like a Twitter mob hit her. Like there's other examples I can mention, but
But there's a difference between name calling and accusing of someone of sexual harassment or being a sexual predator.
that
Um,
is go on.
and I could actually cite a couple of cases off the top of my head where SJW mobs were going after celebrities or trying to Mewtwo them. One of them being is uh, Jeffrey Rush. He got accused of sexual harassment and nearly got Me Too'd, but he sued and won. And then there's Johnny Depp. That's still an ongoing case. Um, but he did. I do believe he did provide proof that he didn't do anything, and in fact, that his fiance at the time was the abusive one. Then there's several other SJW mobs that went after people for basically no reason, and they still won. There's still the Meyer versus Wade case, which I is still ongoing, but has some parallels between the Vic with the Vic case, and there's the Covington Kids case, which honestly I think has one of the best chances of winning a lawsuit ever.
Well, in the case of the Covington kids, I mean, I don't examine that one too closely, so I really can't comment on it too much. I heard that there was some like malicious stuff going on to the point where even other liberals were looking at the case and just at the situation and saying that it was absurd to start attacking these teenagers because they appeared to be racist when they weren't. But also, those kids weren't public figures as well. There's also that to consider. And in the cases you mentioned, which are probably more relevant because they sounded like public figures, that one sounds like a completely different scenario. Also,
what I would
go ahead.
The case I'm trying to point out though is that the SJW mobs can be beaten. That's what I'm trying to point out, and even public figures. Well, calling Vic a public figure is really stretching it.
No, it really isn't.
Okay, how is he a public figure?
He's a public figure because he admitted it himself. Like his lawyer admitted it in his lawsuit. Like the guy said that he's a household name.
No, Vic did it. Okay, maybe within the hardcore dubbing community, which appears at the conventions to meet the favorite voice actors. Maybe to them they're public figures.
And Mick,
but,
sorry, go on, finish your point.
But I have roommates that are hardcore anime fans, and they have before they actually went to conventions, which had Vic Adam, they had no idea who Vic was.
The issue there is that, like I said, firstly, Ty Beard referred to Vic Mignogna as a household name, and if you want and he did couch it by saying a household name in the anime community, but anime is enjoyed by millions of people across the West, tens of millions even, if not hundreds of millions. Like that alone, and in addition to that, in Vic Mignogna's deposition, he said that he, like when he was asked to think of a more famous person than himself in the voice acting scene, couldn't name anyone.
That doesn't mean anything at all, because let me point something out real quick, okay? If you had no idea who these voice actors were, and but you still watched anime, you couldn't pronounce you couldn't say their names, you couldn't say who they voiced or anything like that. Could you say you would know Vic Mignogna, but could you could you point out Vic Mignogna in a crowd? And then if I asked you, okay, can you point out Dwayne The Rock Johnson in a crowd? Two separate worlds, and I consider Dwayne The Rock Johnson to be more of a public figure.
Yeah, you'd be correct in that Dwayne Johnson is a bigger public figure than Vic Mignogna. There's no doubt about that. However, the idea that seems to be this idea among the I Stand With Vic crowd that unless absolutely everyone knows who this person is, they're not a public figure. There's no basis for that at all. Like that's not the case. Like so long as you're significantly famous enough, you are considered a public figure.
What's significantly famous enough?
To the point where you can sue for $1 to $5 million in damages based on your reputation, a loss of reputation. To the point where, based on your name, people are willing to donate hundreds of thousands of dollars to your GoFundMe.
Okay. You do realize that the GoFundMe could be donated to more than once, right?
I mean, yeah, but the point still stands. I mean, like if you go to the GoFundMe page at any given time, you can scroll through it. There's lots of $10 and $25 donations that only appear once.
True, but that doesn't mean they're the same people.
Well, true. Well, yeah, that's true, but like it tends to be the low amounts that are the average. So, I mean, I could take a closer look if you want to show me that like someone tipped the GoFundMe off with like 200, like 150, like 175K, and the rest were like smaller $5,000 donations or something like that. You could show me how that's incorrect.
Well, one thing I do have to point out is that the GoFundMe, that Nick's GoFundMe has started refunding people's money back because they used funny names, and those names were apparently found offensive to some people.
That
So
was a
they
nothing
were,
burger. It was like a few $1,000, like a few 10,000, like, and I know I'm saying a few $10,000, like $10,000 is nothing, but in the context here, yeah, it was a few $10,000 maybe. Like I don't even think it was even $10,000. It was a
but
noticeable effect where people were commenting on it, but it wasn't that significant.
but my point wasn't the loss of money. My point is this: that GoFundMe is willing to refund damages lost. That's what they're willing to do if it turns out it's a con or something like that.
I'm missing your point here. Can you? Sorry, I'm not like. Can you repeat that?
Basically, GoFundMe itself is willing to reimburse uh, everyone's money if Nick turns out to be a con man.
Okay, so is this moving away from the public figure dispute and onto Nick?
Well, the public figure dispute, um, I honestly still don't see how him being a public, how he's a public figure. I mean, I
He's
talked
had
with
multiple news articles and stories written about him over the years. He's one of the few names that people would recognize at any of these conventions, while the rest are just no names.
well, if you would say that, I'd pretty much say this: that there have been news articles written about quite a few people, even the Covington kids. So if you're using that argument, that I guess we could consider the Covington kids public figures.
Well, the issue there is that they weren't public figures until the controversy around them happened. Like Vic
And
Mignogna was a public figure before this incident with the lawsuit.
um,
And sorry, just to correct myself there, before this incident with the kick Vic hashtag.
well, here's the problem with the whole public figure angle, though. Like I like I said, not very many people knew about him. He may have gotten quite a few fans. I mean, that's to be expected if he's had major roles like Broly, Edward Elric. It's to be expected that he did have fans, and I still don't understand where the public figure thing is even relevant in this case. I consider that to be somewhat of a non-argument. I mean, there's a difference between saying a public figure sucks, he's a diva, he's an asshole, stuff like that. I mean, I go, okay, sure, fine, whatever. But accusing sexual harassment, accusing him of being a sexual predator, that is where I think, at least, where the public figure goes out the window, and instead it falls into the defamation case as a whole, and just it's just that I don't even know what I'm saying, but
All right,
I
to unpack
lost
that,
my train of thought.
are you trying to make the case that the allegations are so severe that they're defamation per se, which is a fancy way of saying that they don't have to prove damages at that point? That, well, no, that's sorry, that my mistake. No, actually, I'm not sure what your point is. Like, that wouldn't really
Um,
add to your point there.
okay, I think I figured out what I was trying to say. What I was trying to say is I don't think the public figure matters as unless I don't think the public figure matters because defamation is defamation, uh, and accusing someone of being a sexual predator really, really, really should be contested, even if the person is a celebrity.
Okay,
Um,
so I don't think you really understand the difference between Vic Mignogna being a public figure versus him not being a public figure. If he's a public figure, there's a higher standard of evidence in proving defamation than if he's not a public figure. So, in other words, if he's when it comes to proving see in defamation cases, you have to prove that the person knowingly lied when it comes to a public figure. When it comes to a non-public figure, when it comes to a person who's less known, less relevant, like a private individual, there may be statutes that dictate that well, actually, you have to do some due diligence before you start making up shit about this person. Um, that's why that matters there. This is why Nick and Ty Beard and other people on that side have been trying to make the case that Vic isn't a public figure when all the facts dictate that he is.
well, e- either way, I still think he may be considered a public figure within the anime community, but it's very limited. I personally think he's not a public figure at all because I mean I had to actively show a couple of people his face in order for them to know what he is and what he does and all that. Uh, in fact, I even showed my own mother, and she mistook a fan video for Vic making it and said that he was an egotistical asshole because the fan had posted a lot of Vic's images in it.
Yeah, but like I don't get this argument that I've heard uh from I stand with Vic supporters. Like the idea that you can go to someone they don't recognize this person immediately disqualifies them as a public figure. That just doesn't make any sense to me. Like you go to a person who's not very knowledgeable, who hasn't seen movies in a while, they won't know. Like for example, you brought up Dwayne the Rock Johnson. There are people who don't know who he is. Like hundreds of thousands, if not tens of no, there are tens of millions of people who don't know who that is. There are tens of millions of people who don't know who Taylor Swift is, etc. Like
There's even more that don't know who any of these voice actors are. Notice that well, let me put it in perspective. CNN will cover such a crap as celebrities being abusive or something. Um, if Vic had as much celebrity as say those celebrities, then yeah, I probably agree that he's a public figure. But since the articles that are being written are by articles you actively have to seek out outside of the mainstream, and these articles are just touting the same crap, that's when I have to say no, he's not a public figure at all.
okay, well, the first issue there is that like it doesn't matter if they're all saying the same thing. That's not relevant to whether or not he's a public figure or not. The second thing is he was published on. There was articles of him published in IO9. Well, there was another one. There was another big one that he had articles of him published in. Um, like
ANN.
like well, I mean they're not really as big as IO9. And there's also like, and yeah, I know that sounds silly out of context. That's kind of retarded, but like compared to other online outlets, IO9 does stand above many, 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 many other outlets in Google search rankings. So it's not like he's getting no major coverage at all. Like yes, you're right, he's not getting CNN levels, but you don't need CNN levels of coverage to get public figure status in the court of law.
Again, I'm still confused on how you can get a public figure status when when the plaintiff himself doesn't consider himself a public figure or a celebrity or whatever. He considers himself a normal person, and I am inclined to agree with him because even when I was watching anime, I didn't know who Vic was. I didn't know what he looked like until around 2014 or 2015. And when I dig deeper, I noticed the stories as well. And I wrote them off as just gossip, just people that had too much time on their hands and just didn't have lives.
Okay, well, the issue there is that that's completely anecdotal to like your perspective, and I don't think you're looking at this from like an outside sort of view in the grand scheme of things, and you're not looking at this from the perspective of what the court will think.
Well, it all. Well, that is the crux, isn't it? What will the court think? I'm pretty sure um, the since this is happening in Tyler Tech, since this is happening in Texas, and it's a very red part of Texas, I doubt there's going to be very many anime fans there. So they may be able to make the whole public figure thing a non-issue. Um,
How do you mean they'll make it a non-issue?
Basically, the jury and the judge will go, okay, how is he a public figure? How I mean, how how long does he consider himself a celebrity? Do the other defendants consider him a celebrity? They're going to ask all sorts of questions, and they're going to ask what sort of public figure status he has.
There's an issue. There's an issue here with your hypothetical. You know that all the defendants have filed a motion to dismiss.
Yeah, I actually read him. A lot of it is garbage.
I mean, you might think that, but the reason I bring that up is a judge has to look over I forget this technical name for it, but essentially it's a motion to dismiss.
TCPA.
Yeah, thank you. He has to look over each of them, and for each of them, he has to determine, okay, does the preponderance of evidence determine that Vic has a case against these people?
Yep, and I noticed that one of the witnesses to Monica Rial's story, or at least the one witness she had, he's saying he doesn't know what she's talking about.
Yeah, that's not going to be very helpful because he messed up the affidavit.
How did he mess up?
Well, well, it's either he messed up or he's bullshitting. I don't know which of the two. But in the affidavit, he said he has no memory of the event. That doesn't contradict her story.
It does if you read it all.
No, I read the whole. I read the whole thing. Well, do finish your point first, but go on.
He said not just he has no memory of it, but he said if something like that were to happen and Monica did look distressed, he would surely remember it.
Okay, so there's two issues there because there's 2 points being brought up. The first is Monica looked distressed, and the second one was if he did see it, he would remember it. So the problem with the first one, that Monica looked distressed, is it can be dismissed because he said he has no memory of the event. So how could he remember that Monica looked distressed? It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. How come Ron Toye could make all sorts of tweets and not remember a single one of them?
I'll address Ron Toye after I address the second issue, though. The second thing you mentioned about how, he said that if he was there, he would definitely remember it. In court, that's considered speculation or a hypothetical, and it'd be thrown out. Like a fact witness can't be the hypotheses and speculations of what would happen if that happened or this or that, generally speaking, and including in this case, would be not considered. It's not real testimony how reliable he thinks his memory is.
That still doesn't dissuade from him. I mean, he said that he would surely remember it if it did happen. That I'd say that throws more problems at Monica than it does at Stan.
It doesn't help Monica, but the issue for Vic is that it doesn't contradict her story, and it doesn't really put any kind of holes in it. The only way to resolve that matter is if the case were to go to court, in which he would have to clarify his affidavit, and it doesn't seem like it'll be getting to that stage.
Well, Monica's story did change. Actually, it changed a couple of times. I, at least from what I've heard, I know of the original, and then I know it's changed from that. The original was definitely harassment, and she answered the door and saw Stan. In her deposition, she said that upon said she was getting flashbacks. She just and didn't want to jeopardize her and Vic's friendship. She just went along with it, which implies consent. And then she hid her head under the covers, and then Vic answered the door. There's already contradictions with her story.
Okay, so what's the contradiction? Because I've heard like 8 different angles on them, and usually they have to do with like someone not getting something correct about it.
The contradiction within Monica Rial's deposition is that it goes into consent territory. They did, and she just went went along with it and didn't answer the door. While the contradiction in while the original story was she was sexually harassed, Vic had cornered her. She was trying to fight him off and was only saved thanks to Stan.
Weren't those 2 different events, or am I mistaken about that?
She said she only had one problem with Vic. She only had one run-in with the Vic being a sexual predator. That's what she said.
She said she only had one run-in with Vic being a sexual predator?
Yep.
And the story didn't add up?
Nope.
Okay, well, this one about, like... I can't comment on this one because I didn't hear this angle before. I've heard other angles where they're like, oh, well, there's, like, with other stories that it was a case of them not reading the affidavit, but I'll look into if there's if there is indeed a contradiction. It might change my stance on it. But the reason I'm not really persuaded about a contradiction in this stance or that stance is that ultimately there's 2 big issues with this lawsuit that's being filed, and I don't see it surviving past the motion to dismiss. The first big issue is that they can't prove actual malice, which is the standard that the person knowingly lied. That's essentially what that means. Like, the person couldn't have just said something false. They had to have said something false intentionally, knowing the opposite. And they haven't been able to prove that. Like, with, for example, people say, well, Ron Toye said this. Well, Ron Toye was working off of rumors that he heard from his friends and coworkers, as well as reports he was getting in from people alleging themselves to be anime fans. And people said, well, that's not fair because, he doesn't know the full story or the believability of it. Like, this goes back to, the fact of the matter is with New York Times versus Sullivan, it doesn't matter. He's not required, when it comes to public figures, he's not required to go ahead and do said due diligence. So even if it was a falsehood, they have to prove that he intentionally lied about it. And the second big hurdle is they can't prove damages. When his legal team and himself are asked about it, like what damages were caused, what restitution you're looking for, there's a lot of I don't knows. I'm not sure. Are you sure that this caused this? No, maybe. This is my only course of action. I'm just looking to seek to restore my reputation, etc. In defamation cases, it's not just any lie about a person that they're looking for. It's specifically that the lies told hurt the reputation financially.
Well, I can't say this. He did get his reputation was definitely hurt. I mean, if it wasn't, I doubt he'd be fired from Rooster Teeth and he'd be fired from Funimation if he wasn't if his reputation wasn't damaged. So there is somewhat of a damage. I can't say about what financial damage happened because I know he was dropped from quite a few cons in the early stages. Some have invited him back. like Kamea-con, thanks to fan support. But for the most part, the ones that aren't just aren't going to invite him. Period. Um, then I've got to point out some. I wanted to point out something, but I forgot what it was.
Hey, that's
Uh,
fine. If you remember it, bring it back up. To this point though about damages, the issue I'm seeing with that is that the damages, like that the disinvites to convention stuff, that really can't be attributed to actions that the defendants took, because the actions that they took, that the plaintiffs allege caused, torturous interference or defamation, etc., happened after the disinvites happened before that. So they can't real. So the controversy was started beforehand. So the defendants really can't be held accountable for that, which is why they're having a hard time pinning things on the defendant specifically. Sure, Vic's reputation got hurt. As a result, he was disinvited from conventions, and you can say it translates to financial losses, etc. But it's not from the defendants. And again, like, even if there was damages to show, they're not making that case. They're not making the case very well, if at all. So on this point alone about the inability to prove damages, I don't really see this case making it past motion to dismiss.
That's one of the things that I sincerely doubt. Okay, one of the key witnesses they did name actually has a history of false arrests.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that the owner of AWA, I can't pronounce his name for the life of me because it's something Middle Eastern.
It's fine. I cannot pronounce anything foreign, so you're good. Go ahead.
So he apparently really doesn't like Vic. He tried to get an affidavit out against Vic, and Stan actually came in and said this guy hates Vic, hated him before this lawsuit even happened, and and God only knows why. And plus, the person he alleges that was obsessed with Vic, was a huge fan, and got really uncomfortable with Vic. She actually came out uh, a little earlier. I don't know if it was today or a couple of days ago or something, but she said, "Yeah, no, I didn't do any of what he said, and all what he's saying about me being a fangirl of Vix is an absolute lie."
Okay, so I think I know the guy you're talking about. I did hear about something. Okay, so there seems to be three different things about this guy that essentially disqualify him as a reliable witness. The first one's just not true. He doesn't have a history of false of like lying to the police. He was arrested
I
once.
actually do have a screenshot of that.
Yeah, but here's the issue, and it's an issue that people have stopped making this argument because it was refuted. The guy was arrested for it, but it was overturned in court. So the guy doesn't, and again, it's just one incident where he lied to the police. That doesn't invalidate everything else he has to say anyway. But even this one incident, it's not true. He didn't lie to police. He was exonerated from that crime.
Well, either way, that he does have a misdemeanor, though. That much is certain. That does sort of hurt his credibility. It doesn't necessarily.
No, that's, I mean, a misdemeanor. Like, people get misdemeanors for driving. That's not gonna like permanently disqualify you from ever being a witness to anything.
I know it. That's why what I was saying. The problem, though, is that the people he's talking about are actually coming forward and saying, "Yeah, you're lying. Stop it."
Okay. And the other issue is, what was it? He hates Vic allegedly. Like, I mean, allegedly he hates him. I'm not sure if that. I don't know if that would factor into his reliability as a witness on the stand. It might not. It depends on like if it went to court, I think that would be argued by I think that a competent lawyer would argue that, hey, this guy has a history of hating Vic. I have several witnesses that attest to this fact, and that has traditionally been a reason to disqualify someone. But I don't think it will get to the point of the courtroom. Is the problem with that one? And as for the third point, with the girl, I just heard this today while going home, like from work. Apparently this girl came up and she said that apparently she denied the reason why she wanted to be separated from Vic Mignogna. He didn't. Sorry. The reason. Apparently she denied the reason she wanted to be put into a separate room from Vic, but she didn't deny the events themselves. She just denied like details of like the motivations or whatever. So she actually confirmed either all the story, depending on the point, depending on your point of view, either all the story or most of it.
There's also one other thing I just remembered,
Sure.
which not very many people have been able to answer on the Kick Vic side, and it usually is that that Vic has too much power within the industry. And that is, why did Monica and Jamie wait until 2019, right after Kick Vic, the Kick Vic hashtag was created? Why did they wait until then?
That's a good question. Like, I honestly don't know why they waited if their accusations are true. It puts a seed of doubt legitimately in people's minds. Like, why would you wait on this? Why wouldn't you come out about it sooner? Were you just timid? Were you just too scared or whatever? And like, they'll say, well, that's victim blaming to question such things. But realistically, firstly, I don't believe in, like, I hate that phrase. It's really dumb. It just shuts down thinking, and it's really dumb for reasons I won't get into. But secondly, like, just because you're a victim doesn't mean you're exempt from doing anything wrong in a situation. Like, if you're a victim of a crime, I would say that, yeah, you don't deserve that. Yeah, even if it happened X number of years ago, you didn't deserve that. Yeah, the guy should suffer even if he didn't report the crime to begin with. But ultimately, the best thing to do is to report the crime, like, as it happens. Like, I don't disagree with that at all. And then it leads to situations where people who have committed such crimes that are outed later, they're able to play with such wiggle room, like, oh, well, you didn't report soon enough. And then you get situations where certain predators are able to get away with it for years on that basis. So I don't have an answer for that, to be honest. I just think that was just genuinely. I think it's like I could it doesn't make, it's not a good look for them. That's all I can really say.
And I can guarantee Ty Beard will bring that up.
And, go ahead.
Another thing that I need to ask is, if he was so powerful and you were actually assaulted by him, why did you act so buddy with him for years?
Again, it's a good question, but I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is.
You see, that's those are the questions that they are going to have to answer to the judge about, especially if Ty Beard does bring up tweets, responses, videos, anything of Vic being friendly with them and them going along with the fun. It's going to lead them in a pretty it's gonna land them in a hard spot, basically.
The problem with, like, again, like, this is assuming that it doesn't get dismissed, which it most likely will, and also, like, there's answers to these questions that they can provide. Like for example, I don't believe that these people did what they did. Like, if they did what they did thinking that they would get ahead in the voice acting world, firstly, I flat out don't believe that. I don't, because it's just not the case. Like, all that's happened to them as a result of their actions, like, whether they're right or wrong, their reputations are just dead. Like, you look their names up online, you'll find barrages of videos and articles just condemning them and making them look really, really bad. Like, they're just pieces of shit. And maybe that's some of that's probably deserved, some of it probably isn't, but, like, end of the day, this didn't help them. So the idea that they did this for the motivation of gaining an advantage, I don't believe it. I don't think that's the case. They may have had other reasons. Like, I highly believe that a lot of these people getting involved are upset with Vic because he's a Christian, because he's like condemns homosexuality, that sort of thing. But even then, it's kind of like when it comes to defendants, I don't really see that coming from them as being their reason for speaking out. Like, maybe they just wanted to, like, so if they're lying, I don't know why they lied like that. It just hurt them at the end.
Well, their reputations are hurt anyway because they decided to attack the fans that were asking questions.
Yeah, didn't Monica have to apologize for that one?
Yeah, for reason of insanity. I mean, one of those tweets actually became a meme. Thank you for the tweet. I've sent it to Homeland Security or some crap like that. I have a couple of those. I have the original tweet and a meme of it on my laptop.
Sure. I actually have some questions for you though. When it comes like a lot of times there's like the benefit of the doubt in these cases, and there's like wiggle room for like this or that accusation, etc. But there is some issues when Vic himself starts admitting that, yeah, that's true, that's true, that's true, that's true. Like, for example, Vic does have a history of engaging in sexual proclivities at conventions and like hiring prostitutes and escorts. Like, he's admitted that he's done this while in a long-term relationship to a woman that I think he might have been married to. I don't know. There's contradictory information on that. But either he was married to this woman, engaged, or was a long-term girlfriend with her, and he was sleeping around with other women and hiring prostitutes. I don't really see how you get around that one.
Well, personally, I honestly think this helps his credibility a little more because he's admitting it to a somewhat of a problem he had in his life and the mistake he made. I'm I'd say that sort of helps his credibility a bit more.
I don't think it does, because it just shows that it's more likely that, I mean, it just makes, like, the best way I could put it is that in the public spotlight, it makes him look like a womanizer. That's the nicest way I can put it.
Well, I will say this though. Vic did invite those twins up to his room. That much is true. He said he thought they had something, and then they said no. He said okay later, and then but Monica and Ron. What's interesting with this? They invited the twins to actually live with them, which I don't
That's
I
a
don't know what the policies within Funimation are about that.
I mean,
But
if that's true, I mean, I have to doubt the story. It sounds really weird, but if it's
actually,
true,
Monica Riala, in her deposition, actually admitted that the twins lived with them.
okay, that's a really weird connection there. But the thing about the twins, I mean, weren't they fans of his for years, and then he decides one day, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and like have a a threesome with them.
Well, I don't know what he said. He he very he said that he saw them come to conventions quite often and come to his table, and then he thought they were attractive, invited them up to his room, asked if they wanted to do the dirty, and they declined. And he said, "Okay, fine, I won't push it on you," and then moved on.
Yeah, but the issue there is that it lends more credence to the idea that he thought like it lends more credence to the idea that he finds his female fans attractive.
Well, it all it all depends. Like I said, even if he finds a female fans attractive, that's that's neither here nor there. you can find someone attractive and not actually do anything. I mean, for one reason or another, to I'm attracted to a lot of girls that don't want anything to do with me. But hey, I'm not going to straight up invite them to my hotel room unless they get to know me first.
Yeah, but there's also the other issue, more important than those two things. Vic confirmed like two of the accusations levied against him. One of which, both of which are in the lawsuit itself, which is absurd to me because you can't get someone on defamation charges if they're telling the truth. The first one is the jelly bean incident, which a lot of people have made fun of because it seems ridiculous. Which
I actually make fun of that as well because it is ridiculous. I mean, it was just a bad
I mean,
joke.
I'm not disputing whether it's ridiculous or not, but the thing is, like, Vic doesn't deny it. He just denies that it was sexual. That's it, and that's just an interpretation of what happened. So he can't really sue Monica for that. It doesn't make any sense. Why is that there?
It's because it's one of the stories that Funimation investigated.
Yeah, but it's true. So if they decide, I mean, you could say like the best case you can make is, well, that's a really dumb reason to fire somebody. I mean, there was more to that I'll go back to the investigation in a moment, but you can't get someone for defamation for that.
It well, it could actually work. I honestly don't even understand why the Jellybean story was even brought up in the investigation at all. If and another thing that was actually very surprising was during the investigation, Monica Rial never brought up her story of sexual harassment with the Vic, where Vic invited her to the hotel room.
Well, how do you know that? I thought that nobody really had access to the investigation except for tidbits here and there.
That's because that well, there were only in three stories that could have let that Sony investigated, and that was the Jelly Bean story, a consensual kiss that was so underwhelming that it didn't even needed to be told in full, and the third, I forget entirely what the third was. All I know is that there were three stories, and one of them was the Jelly Bean story.
Didn't hang on a second. Didn't wasn't Monica Rial one of the women who accused Vic of like basically throwing himself on top of her?
Yeah, Monica Rial is one of the defendants.
Right, but like you
And
said there was only
has
three in the
accused of
investigation.
that.
Was that like another story she just didn't tell Funimation or what?
I honestly don't know. I don't think she told Funimation that story,
All right, well,
which
I
is
didn't.
very interesting.
All right, well, I have to look into what is actually known about the Funimation investigation because that seems to be like hidden away in like by everyone. I'll get to that in a sec, but um, the other thing I wanted to, the other story that Vic confirmed was the story with Jamie March, Jamie Marshy. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know of Jamie Markey, the one that messed up Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid.
Yeah. Well, I'm not really commenting on their dub abilities, but as far as the story goes,
It
one of the
wasn't the
things.
dubbing that was the problem. It was the writing.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Everyone was saying the story. There was no proof behind it. It was false. It was totally made up. It didn't happen. Never mind that there was a witness to it, etc., so on and so forth. And when Vic was asked about it in deposition, like he confirmed it. Like he tried to be semantical about it. Like was it hair pulling? Was it playing with her hair? Was it grabbing her hair, etc. But he acknowledged 3 times that he pulled her hair. And he even made a grabbing motion with his fist to indicate the grip he held on her hair when he did it. So that story is, I believe that story is also in the lawsuit.
That's that story. Um, Now I watched the depot videos that Nick did. Um, not the ones with the not with the whole with just the filings, but the actual deposition videos. And Vic, he did say that, yeah, I did. I I saw that Jamie did something with her hair. I just held it up and touched it and said that I love your hair, and then moved on. But there's a problem, glaring flaw within Jamie's story as well.
Yeah, but the issue there is that, like, again, it comes down to a difference of interpretation of the event. Ultimately, Jamie Marchi's story was true.
Um, yeah, one of the things that yeah, the touching of hair was true, but there was a few things that were left out. Okay, that were probably made up.
What are you talking about exactly? I'm confused here. Like,
Where Vic held her down, and where he whispered something into her ears, and then and she couldn't recall exactly what he said, but she was sure it was something sexual.
there's an
And
issue with that.
then how did she get out of that situation?
Okay, so there's a couple of issues with that. I like, if Vic held her down, I think you're thinking of a different incident. That's not the incident that Jamie March described because there was a witness to it. This
Was
is an
it
incident.
was it on Twitter though?
What?
Here's the thing. Jamie Markey actually told her experience in a news article, I believe, and she shared it on Twitter.
I mean, if you'd like to show it to me, go ahead. Just DM it to me. I'll put it up on screen.
I may have to look it up because I know for a fact that this was she did retell the story, and there is some glaring flaws within it.
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure it's a case of, like, you're taking two stories and mixing them up because it doesn't make sense that Vic would hold her down live at a panel and this wouldn't cause a bigger incident. Like, I don't believe that was her story. And when I was talking to other people, they didn't mention it at all. The things that people have been mentioning about this particular story, about the details, was the other thing he mentioned about the whispering in her ear thing. Vic didn't deny that. Like, he did at first, but then he walked it back by saying that if I said anything was like, I love your hair, which is something that can be reasonably interpreted as something sexual.
But what I what but who said anything about a panel? I wasn't talking about a panel. I was
Okay.
talking about the Funimation lobby.
Okay, so
Um,
Vic held her down at the Funimation lobby?
yeah, her story is that Vic held her down in the Funimation lobby and put his mouth close to her ear and said something to her. She doesn't remember what it was, but she was sure it was something sexual.
Okay. I'll look up the holding her down bit. It could have been reference to the hair pull that Dick Mignon admitted to. Like, going through the accusation of the lawsuit, though, it doesn't really mention that part. So, again, the defamation case is citing something that is confirmed by three people at this point.
Also, the Kara Edwards affidavit I've been listening to a lot lately in ProVic servers. Um, Now, I actually looked up at the con in question, and she is definitely discredited as a credible witness because there's actual video evidence of the account she's recalling. It's just a tango dance. That's it, and she initiated it.
Are they
And-
talking about the second part of that story, by the way?
What second part?
The
They're
part.
talking
Okay.
the Jamie Markey stuff.
No. The Kara Edwards chick that you brought up. There's a second
Yeah.
part to that story. She said that it what like that wasn't where the harassment allegation was. It was
Yeah,
part of
and
the.
I was getting to that.
Okay,
I was
go
getting
ahead.
to that. And if I remember correctly, she said something like, "Oh, it did happen to then it happened 2 years prior to that, or 2 years after." Well, I did a lookup of the list of con guests at that convention 2 years prior and 2 years after, and neither her nor Vic were guests in 2006 or 2010.
No, I think you're taking her out of context there because she's not talking about like the tango dance was where the event was the night of the event that happened, like the one that she's talking about. And if you look in the video, she is turning her head away from Vic as they dance. And again, she's not accusing Vic of um of sexual harassment there. She said she was surprised the way that he grabbed her, and then she realized in retrospect that was his first move, and then he later knocked at her door in the middle of the night and like made verbal advances at her.
That still doesn't seem to hold much weight. It still sounds like hearsay.
No, that wouldn't be
I
hearsay.
mean-
In a court of law, hearsay would be something that you heard from a third party, like Bob. Like Bob says, "Oh, I heard Joe said Jane did this." This would be testimony where Bob says in court, "Joe did this. I saw Joe do that," and testimony is an admissible form of evidence in court.
Okay, let me rephrase that then.
Sure.
To me, it just sounds like she's backing off of the Kick Vic movement, and she's not even a regular voice actress at Funimation. She's part time at best, and most of her work these days is in commercials in Dallas.
Okay, so there's two issues with that. The first one being that, as I've mentioned, the people that are quote unquote piggybacking off of Kick Vic, it's only killed their reputations. They're not gaining an advantage because of this. They're not getting money as a result of this. Their reputations are kind of dead. Well, not dead, but sullied as a result of this, of their actions. So I don't really see people making these cases to get famous or whatever. I'm not really seeing that. And the second issue is, you said she was not even a part-time worker. This is also another bit of confusion that I've been seeing that I don't get why people are making this case. There's no evidence for it at all. According to everyone that works for Funimation, that works around Funimation, they're contractors. They're not employees. Like, Nick likes to play with conspiracy theories like, well, what if they're employed? What if these contracts actually make them employees or agents of Funimation? What would that change? Like, that's nonsense. There's no evidence of this at all. Like, that's just him speculating into the yonder. And he could easily ask Vic, "Hey, Vic, I'm doing a show tonight. Can you give me a copy of your contract so I can take a look at it?" And so at one point or another, he'd easily say that and take a look and say, "Well, actually, according to this, Vic is an employee, not a contractor. This changes things." And he may have a point if that was the case. But again, there's no evidence backing that any of these voice actors are employed by Funimation.
So but still, Funimation, the big contract workers. Yeah, that's one thing. I honestly try to stay away from that sort of talking point because I don't know much about the subject.
Yeah, well, it seems to me that what the Vic team wants to do is to rope Funimation so they can sue Funimation directly. But Funimation, like, of everything that everyone said, Funimation said the least damning things, which was they made 3 tweets, one of which was correcting another tweet for a typo, and they said that we're letting go of Vic after an investigation. And I forget the full thing they said, but the gist of it was we're letting go. We investigated into Vic Mignogna. We're letting him go. Which, where are you going to sue Funimation? How do you sue Funimation on that exactly?
That I honestly have no idea. But if there's something that we're not seeing that Vic actually does, it better be good. It better be good. Um, but the well, but what gets me is why did the Funimation put out a public tweet like that when Scott Freeman, who was another voice actor, actually was caught, tried, and convicted of being a, a sex offender for having possession of underage child porn. And Funimation was all hush hush about it, didn't put out a single public statement. But they did for Vic, which really just doesn't click, you know?
My guess for that one, I don't know. I honestly, like, it makes sense for them to not comment on that situation. That the proven pedophile, like basically, someone who watches child porn, letting go of that guy. There's no way to spin that as good in any context. Like, you're gonna have a company that's announcing that, yeah, we hired a guy who liked to watch kids get diddled, and we fired him for that reason. It's not a good look. But you're right. It is kind of weird that they would mention Vic Mignogna, though. My best guess is that they did that in order to quell the crowd, to make them not burn Funimation to the ground. I guess. I'm not sure. The weird thing is them commenting on Vic Mignogna. They're not commenting on the other
guy. There's a problem with that line of reasoning, though. What happened when they released that public statement about Vic? What happened was the exact opposite of what they did. What happened, instead of calling the burns and all that, it only was gasoline for the fire.
I wouldn't be so sure about that. Yeah, sure, the people that are wanting vengeance for Vic, essentially, or they want Vic to get justice, essentially, the people who are calling for that, yeah, that would throw more fuel on the fire. Nick, of course, stoked the flames by making a case where it really does not seem to be a case at all against Funimation. Like, the least of all these people I mentioned, Funimation as a company, it doesn't make sense to sue them. They're an at-will employment state. They didn't lie when they announced they're firing Vic. It doesn't make any sense. The only one that's even less sense than that would be Mars Girl to sue. The issue there, though, is that, well, the thing is, though, how did the people calling for Vic's head, how did they react to that? Like, I imagine they reacted more positively to hearing
that. Hearing the whole Vic got fired?
Yep. Hearing it from Funimation directly.
I'm pretty sure that they were running victory laps.
Yep. So essentially, they appease one side, the people who are looking into this and aren't as invested as either side. Go, okay, I guess they either go, well, maybe he was a shitty guy, or, well, that's unfortunate. Oh well, and they kind of just move on with their lives, and they appease the people that are going to they appease, I guess, the in crowd. I guess I'm using that term loosely. I don't know how much Funimation. I don't know what kind of company. I'm not sure what kind of company Funimation is, because they seem to have some conservative leanings, because they hire they have a division specifically for Christian animation, but at the same time they seem more than willing to work with liberals and make them front and center for their conventions and stuff. So it's not really clear what exactly their ultimate aim is for. But in this case, yeah, it would make sense to say, okay, the guys who are getting at who are after us specifically will appease, and the other guys that might be after us, we'll worry about them later.
Yeah, and as such, they're losing subscribers to their subscription service, which
Are they still?
had the weird glitches for unsubscribing.
I heard about that, but I don't know. Like, I'd have to look into that. I don't know how true that is. Like, and I also don't know how true that is to this day. Like, they probably did lose a lot of subscribers because, again, Vic Mignogna was a very popular guy, and he was very popular as the voice of Broly, which evidently he might never play again.
Oh, there's no doubt unless Funimation gives up the IP to another dubbing company.
There's a chance Vic will be hired to play Broly again by Funimation.
Oh no, not if he actually does sue them and succeed. And
No,
even
that's
then, I doubt they'll hire him because he's attempting to sue them anyway.
well, Vic. Like as far as I'm concerned, Vic has 0% chance of winning against Funimation. Like he has less of a chance against the other guys, and I think he has a 0% chance against them already. So there's that's not really a possibility in my mind. But to entertain that hypothetical, yeah, if he was to sue Funimation, Funimation would never forgive him, and they would never hire him again. You can guarantee that. But the way that I see things, one possibility I might see this ending is at a couple years passes and Vic just comes out and says, "Yeah, I did all these things," and I'm going it makes this rehabilitation story, and then he gets hired back. That's what these people in Hollywood that's what celebrities tend to do. They tend to go with redemption arcs like that in order to sustain their careers.
Ooh, I've, but still, now I don't know if you've seen any of the arguments that Kickvick has made against Ty Beard, Nick Rekieta, Vic Mignogna, all sorts of things. Like Vic is sending his fans to go after them, specifically targeting harassment.
That's a tough one to answer. Normally, I would say that such arguments are bogus, but here's the thing about Nick Rekieta. Who does Nick have on his show? Like, can you name some who are his biggest guests that are only known to the internet world that he has on his show?
Yellow Flash, that Umbrella guy, Hirohei, Doug Tnaple.
Well, those are all
Joshua Moon.
Well, I don't want to go into the Comicsgate thing. Like, I don't know enough about it to comment. I'll just say this off the bat.
I'm only listing people that would be noted in the internet sphere. I would not try to go into Comicsgate at all.
Okay, that's fine. Let me just cut to the chase then. Like, he's got guys like Joshua Moon of Kiwi Farms, and for the record, that guy's a complete and total degenerate. He's got him on.
You're talking to a complete and total degenerate, so I'm in good company.
Okay. I don't think you're into the same kind of stuff that Josh is into.
All depends on what he's into.
Loli Nika Shota porn?
Okay, to each his own, I guess.
No, I think that I think people who are into that sick shit are disgusting. Pedophiles.
It all depends on if it's drawn or IRL. If it's drawn, who cares? If it's IRL, yeah, call the police.
Anyway, no, I don't agree with that. There's no excusing that at all. Like, if you're a pedophile, you need to seek help, not indulge in
it. Well, considering that lollies and shotas are popular in Japan, and Japan has the lowest.
Yeah, I don't approve of that. I don't approve of it just because Japan's doing it.
I personally want to lower crime. I don't want to heighten it. Anyways, moving on.
I don't believe that it's lowers crime at all. I don't believe that. I don't think there's any evidence for it. At best, the evidence for that would be inconclusive. But you're right. It is
Again, evidence
it is
is in
removed from that
Japan.
I'm talking about here. Now, the thing that I've noticed that Nick has done that's kind of smart and kind of not. It will help him in the short run, but once he falls from grace, which he inevitably will, it will hurt him. He's allied himself with guys like Josh, guys like Zoom, guys who do a lot of edgy, fuck with your life shit. And in Josh's case, he has an entire legion of guys who say doxing's on the table. We can fuck with these people in real life. It doesn't matter if we go after their families or not. We can bring these people to financial ruin, etc. So,
Considering that some of the same people that are against Kiwi Farms have done the same sort of crap, it's a murky situation. And Kiwi Farms ultimately, Joshua Moon, he only owns the site and domain. He doesn't control it, and he rather not police it.
you know that Joshua Moon's stance on doxing is, yeah, go ahead, do it. You know he believes that, right? Like, he's actually called out people for condemning the behavior.
That I'm not aware of. I don't.
He had
go
a
to
poll
Kiwi
on
Farms
his
that often.
forums if they should ban doxing of children, and I think he overrid it at the end of the day.
Well, I don't know the entire situation on Josh Moon.
Oh, he's cancer. He's absolute cancer. Like, I have no idea why you guys like have him around at all. Like, the guy will fuck with you.
Well, we don't. Well, the thing is, we can't control who's on Vic's side. We can't control who's pro Vic, anti Vic, whatever. We're not going to police the internet and say, "Hey, you can't support us, otherwise you're giving us a bad name." We can't do that. It's that.
Yeah, I get that. But here's the thing. Nick keeps having Josh on his show knowing what kind of person he is, knowing his character.
Well,
so he's deliberately catering to Kiwi Farms. Like, he's deliberately buttering up to Josh because, well, not everyone on Kiwi Farms is a sycophant of Josh, and there's plenty of people there who, like, you know, there's all kinds of people on Kiwi Farms. It's true. But it's also true that Josh has significant pull on Kiwi Farms.
Well,
like, if you go through their threads on the Kick Vic stuff, it's pretty much all one-sided, all in one favor of, yeah, this side is absolutely correct. Vic Mignogna is absolutely correct. He is absolutely right in all these ways. And the other opposition is dead evil, and we have to get rid of them.
By the way, I know you saw the a couple of Nick's live streams, obviously. Did you know that Ty Beard tried to get help from Kiwi Farms?
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Well, guess what? Kiwi Farms outright denied his request. And basically said, "How dare you order us around like an army?"
I mean, they say that, but all the threads are still giving him what he wants. And he's thanked the farms for providing them with all that free opposition research.
Well, that's well, if they're doing research, if they're completely iced down with the Vic, okay, fine, whatever.
Oh, they trust me, they do good work. They're very helpful.
Definitely not. Definitely very helpful. More helpful than the Pretty Ugly Little Liars.
I don't know. That board seems to be like a soft-core version of Kiwi Farms, to be honest. Like,
well, oh, there's a lot of cats around Bull. I mean, I can't view Kiwi. I can view Kiwi Farms for a couple of hours. Okay, I can't view Pretty Ugly Little Liars for over 10 minutes. I mean, we have somebody on Pretty Ugly Little Liars literally actually considering suing Vic for dream raping her.
That's weird. Might be a troll.
No, because actually, this isn't the first time this person has talked about this. It's actually like the second or third.
Well, anyway, to the main point, like as far as Nick using Kiwi Farms to encourage them to go after people, or people like Kiwi Farms, just to be like, because not everyone Kiwi Farms is going to go after people, and also like like I'm not going to say it like doxing in every single situation is like a moral ill, obviously, but I it's too close to call. I wouldn't make that argument. I think it's too hard to have an argument to make, and honestly, it kind of screams like at the end of the day, you're gonna have to deal with shit on the internet, regardless of who you are. Like if you say something, you're gonna get shit. I get shit. Jim gets shit. Josh from Kiwi Farms gets shit. Well, he deserves it, but you get the point. And so I wouldn't go with that one because it's just to me like the main issue to me at the end of the day is like if people want to believe in their heart of hearts that Dick is a good boy who didn't do nothing, like all these witnesses that have come forward and talked about this stuff are liars. I mean, that's one thing. I can't help what they believe. But what gets me is I can't stand the grifting. I can't stand when people like Nick, who know better, tells the world, and Ty as well, because Ty's also guilty of this, because he keeps on going to shows and promoting this and boosting this ridiculously
Again,
sized.
If it's grifting, wouldn't that mean there should be no lawsuit to begin with?
What do you mean?
I mean, doesn't that mean that Nick and Ty set up the GoFundMe and just ran off with the money, didn't even bother to send the served papers indicating to every one of the defendants involved that they're being sued? Wouldn't that just be much more productive in a grifting situation?
No, because you want to keep the scheme going on as long as possible. So you file the lawsuit, which has no chance of winning to begin with, or astronomically low. Like I'm not even gonna say astronomically low. I'm gonna say has no chance of winning. Period. They file a lawsuit that has no chance of winning, and they keep it going for as long as possible because even if it's frivolous, they can keep on appealing and appealing. Like after motion of dismiss comes through, they can appeal that. The appeals court sides with the defendants. They can appeal that, and they can keep on going theoretically until the Supreme Court, but it's not going to the Supreme Court. It would probably go to like the state Supreme Court and end there. The Supreme Court would never hear a case like this. Actually, I don't even think it would go to the state Supreme Court. I think it would just be determined to not be worth their time either. But they can keep this out going for a really long time, especially since they cast a wide net and array of targets, a lot of which don't make a lot of sense. Like Mars Girl, like I want someone like, okay, if you disagree with me completely on like everything I have to say, like if you are diehard in the I stand with Vic position, I want someone out there to give me the best possible case that you can think of. Like, convince me that in some universe, Mars Girl can be sued for making a hashtag and spreading rumors that she heard. Like, if you can do that, maybe then it'll make some sort of sense to me, but it just doesn't. And to the point, they keep on telling people, support the GoFundMe. It's going to work. We're going to win. It pisses them off. Look at their reaction. Look how mad they're getting. And Nick's there, like, giving his hot takes on things. Oh, look at this deposition that I got from my friend Ty, who's also come on the show next week. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to call Ron Toye a cuck and make fun of his appearances. He's totally destroyed. And these spicy memes will take us to take the clean out. It will, I think at one point he even used the phrase, he grind their bones to dust, which is just over dramatic.
That was actually Jason Moyne's question. You want to grind these women into dust, don't you?
I read in one of the TPCAs that Nick said he wanted to grind the dust, but maybe I misremembered that, or maybe I misread that. If it's actually if one of the lawyers said it, or maybe the lawyer was referencing something that Nick had said. It does seem to me that the defense lawyers are. It seems to me the defense lawyers are a bit ticked off by Nick's antics, but they're not. They show it in very, very subtle ways. They're not like spurting out over it.
Subtle ways?
Yeah.
Very subtle ways? Do you know that they tried to dox Nick in a legal way?
I don't think they tried to dox him so much as they tried to depose him.
Yeah, the notice to depose. Why didn't they just send the letter instead of just saying instead of just saying we're going to depose Nick Rekieta? Why not just send Nick the papers?
I don't know. I honestly, like, as much as I don't like Nick, as much as I'd like to see him deposed, like, I'd like to see him grilled by a group of people who know what they're doing, like, absolutely smack him down. I don't think it's a good angle. I don't think that going after Nick, if you're part of the defense team, other than pointing out, like, you know, how this is a slap, like, that's the only way that works. Like, it doesn't work where you focus your target on Nick and then you just go ahead and say, yeah, let's go after that guy. Like, that seems to me to be a bad play. So I don't know why they're going with that direction. Like, the stuff about him in the TCPA is good, but the stuff about him, like, you know, we're going to depose Nick Rekieta. I guess it aggravates Nick Rekieta, so they're trying to give him a dose of his own medicine. I guess maybe it wastes the defense's time because Ty has to write up a response now, and he did it. He actually preemptively did it because, like, they kind of planned on it first, and they announced it publicly for some reason, and then Ty like went, "I'm gonna stop this," and he rushed to put that motion in. But as far as that winning the case, they should just do what they're doing with the defense, and I think that will like make them win at the end of the day. I don't see the Rekieta angle for them working in that manner.
But I will have to point out one thing Nick Rekieta said. I know you hate Nick.
Well, I try not to hate anyone, but continue.
But he did say something that I think everyone, no matter how educated, no matter how much they think they know law, should take into account. Not every case is a sure thing. Now, for me, I'm personally prepared for if Vic does lose. But what if Vic turns out victorious?
If Vic turns out victorious?
Yeah, what if you're wrong and Vic actually wins this lawsuit and is able to keep on going and going and going until he's actually done what he set out to do with these lawsuits?
Well, if that's the case, like, I don't believe this will happen for a minute or a second. But if this were to happen in a hypothetical that I'm willing to entertain, I'd be like, okay, I guess a bunch of liars / liberals got their just desserts for once, and it puts limits as to what they can do. I would be okay with this, honestly. But
same here.
The thing is, in such a world, there would have to be proof that they knowingly lied based on the stat, because I don't see this happening without the reason why this is a hypothetical is I don't see them producing, like, it assumes several things. It assumes everyone in this case, all the witnesses in these affidavits, they all lied. We already got confirmation that, like, many of the stories were true. Maybe they lied in some other way than the ways that they didn't lie. It would have to also be that not only did they lie, they lied knowing that what they were saying was genuinely false, and they can demonstrate this. And, like, at that point, it almost reaches, like, it either reaches to the point, or almost reaches to the point where it has to be some kind of conspiracy against Vic Mignogna with so many different unrelated people that I have to scratch my head and say, I really have to doubt that Vic is really as innocent as he says he is, like at all. Like I don't really see it, and I especially don't see this coming to fruition in court. And as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to what Nick's doing, Nick knows that this case is frivolous. Like there's no doubt that Nick knows that this case doesn't stand a chance. Like everyone, like Nick himself helped laugh Maddox off the internet essentially when Maddox sued the world. Like he was upset that everyone was calling him a cuck. He wasn't a cuck, he said. That's libel. That's slander. So he sues everyone. And then everyone's like, yeah, that's such a joke. It's ridiculous. Why would anyone bother with this? But then you have Nick Rekieta going around saying, oh yeah, Vic Mignogna, this is it. They definitely defamed him. They definitely went after all those things. And what does this lawyer do? What does Ty Beard do? He actually there was two things that Ty Beard wrote that are just absolutely ridiculous that I don't even think I Stand With Vic defends, except, it's some kind of 4D chess maneuver. And I want to show these on screen because I didn't get an opportunity to in the last stream I did. There was the bit about someone called Vic Mignogna a pile of feces. And Ty was like, Vic Mignogna is not a pile of feces. This is false and defamatory. Like, you can see how that's ridiculous, that calling someone a piece of shit on the internet is not going to let you... That no judge in the world is going to accept that as defamation. Ever.
Yeah, that is rather stupid, and on Ty's part, if he did write something like that, I don't get it, but it could also very easily just be a joke. So
why would you? But here's the thing: why would you joke about something that is so obviously wrong in a lawsuit that you have to get the judge's approval in order to get this thing off the ground to begin with?
There's
like, if Ty is joking, that's even worse if he just made a mistake.
Like I said, I have no idea. I'm just saying that I think he either made a mistake or he was just joking.
I think, honestly, from what I gather from Ty, I think that I would like someone to prove me wrong in this, but I don't believe that Ty has had any experience in this area of law at all. Maybe he's done other areas of... What?
Look up his website. You'll see what he specializes in.
All right. Oh, yeah, sure. Something I want to show you on that. You said specializes in?
Yep.
Yeah, actually, this is something I want to bring up because this is something I kind of missed some time ago, but I just want to double check and see if it's here. Yeah, I've seen this page before. It was updated. I'm gonna DM this to you, and I'm also gonna show on screen. Give me a moment. All right. Okay, so here's the page as it was last year. A second. Let me pull this up for the audience first. One second, please. Okay, it's not showing up right, but if you actually go, I can't bring it up right at the moment, unfortunately. I apologize for that. But if you actually go to his web archive page, you can see that he added that he practices in tortious interference and defamation law. And later on, Like, at some point, he changed it to specializes in, but then he changed it back to practices in. And the reason why, and the funny thing is, between the time it was specializes in and it went back to practices in, Greg Duchette called him out on not using the term specializes in correctly. And he said this was a violation of the Texas board. You see the implication there.
Well, like I said, it's a simple mistake, but he does have a couple. He does have a competent legal team.
But that's not right. Like, how is it the case that it's just a simple mistake when like the guy can't get his credentials correct? That's a big, major mistake. And like, I don't believe that's a mistake at all. I think Ty Beard is boasting bigger than what he actually is. I think he's just trying to put on a show to make himself look big for the audience. I don't think he has any expertise whatsoever. And if someone wants to show me a case where Ty Beard came into like a defamation or notorious interference case or any similar case like this and slammed the and utterly demolished his opposition with it for like a case where he's representing a plaintiff, go ahead and show me this, because I'd love to be proven wrong about this. But based on the available evidence, based on the way that Ty Beard acts, based on the way that he writes these legal documents, like he suing someone for being a pile of shit, suing someone because they recounted an incident that was true. In regards to the jelly bean incident, suing someone because they blasphemed the Lord Jesus Christ. Which, okay, in any other, like, if this guy wasn't serious about that, that'd be pretty badass, I gotta admit. But real world here, that's not something that's illegal. That's not something you can sue someone for. Like, it just isn't. I don't get, and the thing is, this is also another point against Nick, because why wouldn't Nick be like, okay, we got to get rid of this guy or we got to rein him in or something? Instead, he just keeps on boasting about the guy, saying, yeah, he's so great, he's demolishing them, he's beating them down, he's doing all this stuff. But he's making clear, obvious, blatant mistakes that show his ineptitude and incompetence to this. Even when he appeared before court, like if you watch the stream I did on this, you would know that he was laughed out of court, essentially.
Oh, I don't know if he was or not. I mean, part of the problem with the documents is you can't tell if he was actually laughed out of court or not. I mean, there could have been omissions. There could have been off the record stuff that was important.
Sure, but you could read the judge's reaction to like this case. He's not taking them seriously. And
are you talking about the Vic case still?
Yeah.
Okay. I think he was more or less laughing at the argument that Casey and Ty were having, as opposed to just Ty. Because in the end, Casey Erics got the deal that Ty was offering to begin with.
I don't really see it that way. Like, the way that the judge was reacting to the case, like he asks, why are you even here? What can the court do for you? And the judge gets flabbergasted when they respond with, well, we don't really know, we're not sure. And at the end, when like Ty stands up and talks, he's like, oh, I thought you were a defendant. You should be the one. Like, Ty says, I'm the head of this firm. And then the judge says, oh, well, I thought you were a defendant. You should be the one talking. Like, that's just a slap down if I ever heard one.
Actually, that sort of prove that the judge doesn't know who any of these people are, who the defendants or the plaintiff is. That's just further proves it.
No, I don't think that's quite what the takeaway is here. Like, it's quite obvious to me that based on all the available evidence, this case isn't going anywhere. That the people that are pushing for this case know it's not going anywhere, but they stand to make a lot of money off of it. Win or lose, Vic Requeta gets a shit ton of money. Win or lose, Ty Beer gets a shit ton of money because he's not going to be like, oh, well, we lost the case, I'm going to refund the money back to the backers, or I'm going to give more to the charity. No, he's just going to take the money and go. And we don't know how much this case really should cost. Like, there's talk of there's another thing that I noticed in the GoFundMe, and I'm gonna read it. It's not the whole thing, but this particular part of it. That it just shows how much of a joke this is. This line here. We will announce. This is from Vic Kicks Back, and this is Nick's writing. We will announce that the disposition of any extra funds candidly and provide updates on the usage of funds to the extent that such information can be made public. Now, you could make the argument, well, that's not really false or a lie because of client what's the term?
Client lawyer.
Thank you.
Privilege.
Sometimes I'm retarded. I forget phrases. Although actually, now that I think about it, I don't think that's correct. But anyway, there's confidentiality issues essentially. So they go ahead and they say, oh, we can't disclose anything for that reason. That's the most convenient excuse in the world to me, because you could just use that to justify any amount of costs. Like maybe there's a flat bill that just happens to be the entire GoFundMe at the end of the day that Ty Beard will charge.
That's where I have to contest that, because for one thing, we don't know how many defendants there are going to be at the end of this road. We have a couple of waves figured out, possibly one or two waves.
Does it make sense to spend the money on more people if the case is not going any place that's good?
It again, you're assuming that Vic is gonna lose, and sure you can.
I'm fully confident that Vic is going to lose, like 100%.
Well, again, you can't be 100% sure considering the legal system.
I mean, considering the legal system, what I know
can happen. Anything can happen.
That's not true. Like, I mean, sure, like in a very technical sense, a fairy could appear right in front of my face, but under all conditions that are reasonably possible, that means following the rules of logic, following the known laws of reality as we know them, following the laws of the court that's been put into place. We're going to assume that the judges won't go insane and just disregard everything. I mean, all the judges. Vic doesn't stand a chance.
Here's the thing, though. I want to ask you something real quick.
Yeah, sure.
How long have you been following this case?
I've been following it on and off since I guess since I got wind of the GoFundMe, which was like a couple of weeks after Nick announced. Maybe wasn't even a couple of weeks. It was days or weeks after Nick announced the GoFundMe that I started following this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I started following it more intensely over the past month. Go ahead. Sorry.
I've been following the Vic case since before Nick even got wind of it.
I mean, that's great, but there was no.
What I'm pointing out here is that Nick at the start, he wasn't sure of he wasn't sure what was going on or if Vic could possibly win. He wasn't sure himself. And the GoFundMe, he was when he set up the GoFundMe for quite a few months, or a couple of months. I don't know numbers. I'm not good at semantics like that. He was quiet on the promoting it. In fact, half the time he had to guests had to promote it for him, or his. Or the audience had to remind him to promote it through super chats. So I don't see how he's forgetting it to grift when he should be.
I mean, he made the GoFundMe. He posted on his account, like the whole "I stand with Vic" hashtag movement thing, whatever you want to call it. The whole support for Vic is now is now tied down to this lawsuit. You can't support Vic in other ways now. Like the whole everyone involved with this is involved with the lawsuit.
I think I don't know how I'm involved. I mean, I barely did anything. All I did was talk about it and do research. So I don't know how I can be involved since I'm part of I stand with.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like you have to defend the lawsuit now. Like Nick essentially took it over. Like he became essentially like if not the leader, because you could argue that Vic is. Well, no, Vic isn't really involved with the "I stand with Vic" thing either, because that's another weird thing. Like that Nick, that Vic in the deposition said that he has no involvement with the GoFundMe at all.
Well, Nick Rekieta, he said that he he would actually be willing to be deposed, but that doesn't mean he's going to make it easy for them.
No. Vic.
What?
Vic
Oh,
Mignogna
sorry, I got
said.
somebody.
No, it's fine. It's fine. You're good.
Pinged me.
I probably didn't pronounce it correctly either. Here's the thing. Vic himself denied involvement with the GoFundMe, and that has more implications than Vic contradicting himself. I don't think people realize this, but how can the money from the GoFundMe be in Vic's name under his IOLTA account if he has no involvement with the money?
Simple. It's being put into a different account that Nick has no part of, and Vic has no part of it. And in which case, it goes to Ty Beard since it's under his law firm's name.
Yeah, but the problem there is that you can't use an IOLTA account that way. That would be fraud. Like not just someone getting away with lying for money on the internet fraud. Like not in actual fraud. I mean, the IRS will fuck you fraud.
I'm confused. How exactly is the GoFundMe money being put into an account that he can't touch, but somebody else can? How's that fraud? I mean, in that case, Jamie Markey is just as guilty since she started up a GoFundMe for a charity that had audit issues around the time Nick's GoFundMe was announced.
I didn't know about her running a GoFundMe. There's always people running schemes here and there, but talking about this one specifically, the funds are being alleged to be put into an IOLTA account. You know how that works?
All I could think of it is it's put into a third party account.
Not quite. The client owns the money.
That again, if I don't know how you're getting it. I mean, getting that. I mean, this IOLTA account may be for Beard Harris, Bullock, and Hughes, but if Vic wins the lawsuit, he'll still get the money. So again, I don't know what you're trying to argue here.
Okay, so the issue is if Vic has said under oath, under penalty of perjury, that he has no involvement with the GoFundMe, that he's removed from it, he doesn't know where some money is being spent, it's not his problem. He said that directly. If what he means there is true to the letter, and the IOLTA account is not in his name, then Ty Beard and Nick have some explaining to do to the government, because that's not legal. That's a big if, but
wait. It never said the money goes to Vic though.
That's the issue. That's the issue. Like, if it's in Vix, who's the client then? Is the real question.
For the GoFundMe case, it wouldn't be Vic. I'd say it'd be more Beard Harris, Bullock, and Hughes for the, at least for gaining the money. I would say that's the client.
No, it can't be Beard Harrison Hughes. Like I said, that's super illegal. Like it's not just a little bit illegal. That would be devastatingly illegal.
I mean, either way, as Vic also said it during his deposition, nobody's forcing anyone to donate to the GoFundMe. It's completely up to the people who listened to the story, and it's up to them to decide. At the end of the day, we have no proof of Nick actually doing anything illegal. Only theories from what I can tell. And from what the GoFundMe can tell, and GoFundMe, from what I can understand, is definitely in contact with Nick Rekieta. Otherwise, they wouldn't have said that you're not allowed to use these misleading names or anything like that. So clearly, Nick is in contact with GoFundMe. So
GoFundMe. Here's the thing: GoFundMe's angle with this isn't to ensure that fraud doesn't occur; it's to ensure that they're not liable for anything. So people might be using it for shady practices, but that's not their problem. At least as much as they can get away with it within the context of the law. Like that's the thing with GoFundMe. Like that's the whole reason why it's set up that way. Now, when it comes to
sure, even if they set it up that way to become liable, I'm pretty sure they'd still be liable if they're found to be basically trying to say, "Hey, we were just talking to these people. We have nothing, but it's." But at the end of the day, it's their platform. They have to make sure who's actually being truthful and who's not.
Nope. I mean, how many stories about failed Kickstarters or fraudulent campaigns do you hear that never get taken down? Like, what about that one guy who faked having a disease like 8 times and tricked like the Coontards into giving him money?
Was it that Kickstarter or Indiegogo?
Yeah, like, but like I remember at one point even Medicare was laughing at it. Like,
okay, can you name one thing from GoFundMe itself?
I mean, I can't name anything off the top of my head, but I can name I can name like several Kickstarters. Like, oh wait, you know what one? Oh, you know what? You know what's a fun one? When you have spare time, go look up. What's that game called? What's it called? Go look up FleetCom when you have time. FleetComm.
FleetCom.
FleetCom, yeah.
I
remember there was an Indiegogo for that, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. You see, I don't know all the stuff about these sort of crowdfunding websites. I don't know how each one works individually, but I haven't heard anything about Kickstarter, Indiegogo, anything like that. Trying keeping in constant contact with the people that set up campaigns, make sure that everything is on the level. I haven't heard anything about that. And
yeah, exactly. Sure... Like that's just it. They don't do that. There's not like a team of investigators that investigate potential fraud on their website. Like they just want to protect their own asses, and that's it. Like if people send in complaints, they'll respond to that probably to protect as part of a means to protect themselves from liability. But if people are doing shady shit, they don't know about it. They don't care about it. It's not their problem. In fact, on certain platforms like Kickstarter, I don't know if this is the case in GoFundMe, but in Kickstarter, if you set up a promise and you say, you pledge this much, you get this in exchange, you do this. If you fully fund this campaign, you get that. There's no legal binding that the person who set up the Kickstarter has to fulfill those promises. That's all in the terms of service. Like, as far as Kickstarter is concerned, those pledges and such are donations, and therefore there's no legal bound to have an exchange given back to those people that are donating. So you can very, very easily trick people who don't read the terms of service, just go ahead and just donate because they think it's a fun idea, and you just take money from them.
Well, either way, you said it to yourself. You can't think of a GoFundMe that it has been fraudulent, right?
I mean, not a GoFundMe specifically, but I don't see how that changes any of the things I said.
Actually, it could. It could.
I mean, if you can show me
reason...
GoFundMe actively rooting out fraud and actually making sure that they keep making sure that everything is on the up and up, like in vigorous detail, where they'll actually ask for invoices from people, then maybe I change my mind on it, or maybe I'd reconsider my position. But I'm confident in saying that that's not the case.
Well, you're making the accusation, but until the accusation is able to be 100% proven, it's just speculation.
I don't think that. No, I don't agree with that. I don't agree that you need 100% absolute proof, because the truth is, the thing that they don't teach you in school is that you don't get absolute proof of most anything in life. A lot of times you have to reach a preponderance of evidence and then draw a conclusion from there.
Well, I'm drawing a conclusion based on the evidence that I've seen, and from what I'm seeing, yeah, GoFundMe is keeping track of Vic's GoFundMe.
I mean, where's the evidence of that they're keeping track of it, other than revoking funds for made up names? Like, other than that, because that's the one piece of evidence you throw, but that could be for any number of reasons, not related to looking into individual Kickstarters.
Well, well, that's the one thing that I have to draw on, and Nick's word. And honestly, Nick's been covering the Vic case longer than any of the lawyers on Twitter. And I've also noticed that, yeah, the lawyers on Twitter are not trying to reach out to I Stand With Vic people. So,
well, the thing is with that, I don't think that in most cases with these kinds of conflicts there can be a reaching out between sides and trying to come to a middle ground, because actually, no, let me rephrase that. In conflicts like this, you don't want to reach out to the other side. You want to surround your opposition and crush them. That's how this works. Like, what you're involved in, at its lowest level is a flame war. At its highest level is a political what would be the proper term? It's a political fight over social politics. Is, like, I guess, the highbrow way of putting it. I just place it as a flame war. In either case, you're dealing with a conflict there, and you shouldn't try to your enemies will try to fuck with you. Like, you're not gonna have, like, from the Kick Vic side, you're not gonna get people who are going to play nice with you. They're going to try to crush you, and at best, maybe if they offer an olive branch to you, it would only be to their advantage. And this, frankly, the same goes for the I Stand With Vic people. Like, they're aware of this. Like, they've been in this long enough to know that, yeah, that's how the internet works. That's how conflict works. It is constantly but two sides butting heads, and whichever side wins out, wins out. Like, you're not going to have a situation where they play nice with you, because generally speaking on the internet, like, especially on the internet, generally speaking, you play nice, you get burned. Like, that's just how it is.
Well, I have been burned myself, and I do usually try to play nice, because I don't like it. I guess I just don't like to be viewed as a complete and total a-hole or anything like that. Um, I don't know. I think that this one YouTuber, Raging Golden Eagle, had a point with being anonymous and how you act anonymously as opposed to how you act when your identity is known. When you're a piece of shit anonymously, then you're a piece of shit publicly. But if you're one of the nicest people anonymously and you're a nice person publicly, then yeah, you're a nice person. So I don't know. It's a good way to weed out some of the pretenders, but in the end result is you do get burned. I mean, I've been called adult alt-right to Nazi. I've been called a misogynist. I've been called sexist. I've been called basically everything in the SJW book, and those things just do not phase me. I just don't care anymore.
Well, that's the thing. Like, the way you build an immunity against all that is you just live your life. You don't worry about what stupid people say. Because once you get invested in it, that's when you have problems. Like, and my example of this is every e-celeb that has ever existed. Just poke around, like look around on their history, what they've done, who they talk to, what scandals they've been into. You'll see that, hey, these people are cringy and pathetic, and they're too wrapped up in their own egos in order to boost themselves for e-fame. Like, that's the problem with these people. It always comes down to, like, you know how they say that the root of all sin is pride, or that's one of the roots, I guess. Like, the greed is also another one, but
I would actually argue that envy and pride are.
well, sure, but the reason they say pride specifically is because, yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. And on the internet, where the only thing that matters is your reputation, well, if you're an e-celeb, I should say, honestly, if you're not an e-celeb, don't give a shit about your rep. And if you are an e-celeb, stop being an e-celeb. You're embarrassing. Yeah, it causes people to do a lot of stupid things. But anyway, we're kind of really off topic here.
Girl.
But, lol. We're kind of really off topic here, though. I do have to ask some questions about the GoFundMe, though. With the current, let's say that the current lawsuits are all that's needed, are all that's going to happen, and how much do you think those would cost?
I honestly have no idea. I've never even been to court, so I have no idea how much any of these would cost. I have no idea how much the next rounds would cost, so on and so forth. But I'm pretty certain that the 200, probably around a quarter to nearly 25, $250,000.
A quarter million.
Huh?
A quarter million, about.
Yeah, I don't think about a quarter of a million would be nearly enough for this lawsuit, especially if you want to go after ANN, which is Canada based.
Well, I was talking about the current defendants. I'm not talking about hypotheticals of going after other entities.
Well, current defendants, I have no idea. It all really depends on how much it costs for gaining all this, all the evidence against them. How much it costs to just get consultation, discovery, depositions. There's a lot of factors to work with.
What do you think is the highest cost being spent on right now with the money? I'm sorry, I don't know if that got through or not. Let me repeat.
It got through on my end. How much do I think it would cost?
No. What would be the highest expense at the moment? Which item would be like the highest thing? Would it be like the research, the rate they're charging the lawyers per hour as hypotheticals, etc.
Well, there's been a lot of bullshittery on the side of the defendant, so that with the with trying to depose Vic, or not Vic, I mean Nick. That uh, it's I would actually have to go with probably the research, because there's probably some tweets that the defendants have deleted in order to make sure they aren't incriminated, or even if they could deleted any tweets that could have been incriminating. I'd say the restoration for those tweets would probably be one of the highest bills. If not, it's the rate of pay per hour.
Um, are about the tweets thing? That's kind of I didn't expect that as an answer. Like that resurrecting tweets is only done assuming they're deleted, as in deleted. In order to get those back, all you need is archive tools. Like either there's two ways you can do it. If you have an archive, if they were archived already, you go to webarchive.org or you go to archive.is and you do a search on there. I think I've shown this on the show before about how to do that.
I've got those tools as well.
Right.
But this is where it goes into a sort of a weird argument where what if they weren't archived exactly? What if they were deleted before they were archived? Then it goes into a really weird situation where how are you going to restore those?
Well, if the other way would be get screenshots that people have posted of the tweets and then get the witnesses to authenticate them. But I don't think you're quite getting the point. This thing that you're putting as the highest cost, I can do. There's nothing preventing me from getting tweets that have been deleted, evidence that they exist in some form or another, and then just going to people and saying, "Hey, can you confirm this exists? Is this your tweet? Did you see this tweet, etc." As far as the only other things I can think of are things that require court orders, which haven't been filed yet.
Well, I was only using tweets as an example as well. What I could also refer to are text messages, emails, something very private that, as you said, probably require a court order.
Have any court orders been filed to subpoena this information?
Not that I'm aware, and I stated those are about the only things that I could think of that probably add up to the most cost effective to restore.
Okay. Why do you think that that the plaintiffs thought it was a smart idea to propose keeping the Funimation investigation under wraps?
The Funimation investigation under wraps?
Yeah, why would the plaintiffs do this?
I don't think they tried to keep the investigations under wraps. I do know they tried to keep the court case under wraps.
No. At the hearing, the initial hearing, the lawyers, one of the lawyers representing Vic, Hughes, I think it was Hughes. I could be mistaken. If I fuck up on this, I can't remember my own show. Mea culpa. Hughes, the guy who's not Ty, was there, and he told the court they need that he had this roundabout way of like sealing certain documents within the case. He mentioned specifically addresses and personally identifying information, etc. But he also put in there the Funimation investigation. Why would he want that kept away from the public? Why would he not want the lid blown off of that and like shown to everyone what a terrible investigation that was?
Well, I don't know what any inside information. I mean, I'm just a very minuscule YouTuber. I mean, I only have 30 subscribers, so I don't even have the same clout as that Umbrella guy. So I I don't know. I don't have connections referring to that, and
If you had to take a guess,
uh, my guess as to why Ty Beard would try to do that. I mean, I know that Ty Beard and Carrie, I forget her last name. She deposed Monica. I know they're part of Vic's legal team. Uh, and I honestly have no idea if they wanted to keep the Funimation investigation under wraps or not. I know they wanted to keep the entirety of the case under wrapped and away from the public eye, uh, but it was dismissed. I don't, and I just don't know this line of questioning, to be honest.
all right, I'm just trying to get some of your thoughts on this um, because like I think you're putting way too much trust in Nick and Ty being the good guys saving the day, and I don't think that um, I don't think that the justification for the GoFundMe is good at all. Because again, they're going to win out whether the case is, because they mostly seem concerned with filling their own pockets. Nick through his super chats, Ty through the GoFundMe, than they are in winning the case. That's my honest position at this point. Like, I don't really see another way to look at it. And it's like Nick's going on air saying, "Oh, donate to the GoFundMe." It pisses them off. Like, why would you give money to something just like that? That's literally trigger the libs, own the libs logic. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. Like, I mean, at this point, like I would have to like I guess like the one question along this vein I would have to ask um, would be do they need more money than $250,000 at this stage? Like, maybe there should be a waiting period before giving them more money.
Well, at the end of the day, it it's still not up to Nick and Ty who donates to them. It's just it's the audience, and at that point, it's
Well, no,
completely
I know what you're
moot.
getting at. It's their right to donate to whatever they want. Yeah, it's their right, but that doesn't mean it's a good decision just because they have the right to do something. Like, they could take that money and like donate it to Greg's GoFundMe. Well, they could have. They could have decided to donate it to Greg's GoFundMe to like become a lawyer in Texas, which I think that was stupid. I don't think he should have done that. I think that made him look bad. Well, granted, I'm going to rephrase that. I don't think it was a good idea for him to have done that because it is counter to his message that the grifty is dumb. But it's like it's like 100, like it's like 1/200th less the damage that Ty and Nick are up to. But to the point, you wouldn't tell I Stand With Nick supporters, yeah, you should totally go ahead and decide to spend money however you want. And if you want to help Vic, donate to Greg. That wouldn't make any sense. You'd agree with that. So likewise, it wouldn't make any sense for someone who wants to help Vic out to support. Like, if I'm right that this that Nick knows from the onset that this lawsuit's frivolous. No, let me rephrase that. It doesn't matter if Nick knows if it's frivolous or not. This lawsuit is frivolous. If you agree with me on that point, then you shouldn't be telling anyone at all to be donating to the GoFundMe.
Also, but there is one thing that I did forget to mention. And you did. I don't know if you knew about this or not.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Did you know that Vic had a legal counsel before Ty Beard?
I heard rumors to that effect.
Well, it's been confirmed by Vic himself. He did have legal counsel in his deposition, which is videotaped.
I did not know
Or
that. I'm going
recorded
to
at.
look. I have a transcript of it. Is by any chance is that videotape of the deposition available without Nick Rekieta's filter?
Sadly, you can buy it, but you're going to have to shell out a lot of money for it.
Well, how much is a lot of money?
I'm talking about tens of thousands of dollars.
They're charging like tens of thousands of dollars for a deposition video.
For multiples. You see, they also have to edit the video for protecting identities.
Oh, I see. Oh, the stuff that's under seal.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense, but I don't know.
Then again, I could be fudging the numbers a bit. I could be including the legal documents as well.
Well, most of the legal documents I have, I think, like most of them are freely available. So, like the transcripts.
Yeah, you see, the legal documents they're not exactly cheap either, but they're a lot cheaper than the deposition videos. So it could be just in the thousands of dollars instead of the tens of thousands of dollars. But I know that Umbrella Guy has been trying to filter what he can. There's also Broly Power Maximum. I'm also in his server, and he's been trying to sift through it as well, so as to make them more public, more watchable, and don't have to worry about Nick.
I mean, I just go ahead and take the transcripts and send that everywhere, like, if that's the goal, because people can read. Like, also, that's another thing that really bothers me. A lot of people aren't reading the documents for these things. So a lot of people get a lot of information wrong. They're getting eyewitness accounts wrong. They're getting specifics about the case wrong. And it's just like a little reading. Like, I don't get why there's not enough reading going on, but what can you do?
There is, I can actually sort of say that, because there are some things that reading in this sort of case cannot actually isn't exactly easy to discern a lie from truth. For instance, there's a body language which Vic, during his deposition, he was entirely calm the whole time. He wasn't. He was keeping eye contact.
I'm gonna interrupt you on this one. I mean, like, are you telling me that you can tell if a person's lying just by looking at them?
You could
Because
by body language.
Yeah, I'm aware. I'm aware of body language. I know, like, when that robot testified before Congress, talking about how, like, he was totally not doing anything about Trump and his election. He was lying based on his body language. I get that, but that doesn't.
Wait. Who are you talking about?
I'm sorry, that's just really, really vague of a reference. But no, I get people can give cues and indications that signify they're not being truthful, but that doesn't hold up in a court of law. It isn't an exact science. Like, that would just be thrown out by the judge immediately. Like, the only way that would be relevant is if it went to jury trial, which it's not likely to reach.
Again, you're saying it's not likely. I don't see how it's not likely. I mean, this there's just so much evidence. I stand with the Vic is finding lies. In fact, somebody I know of was kick Vic for 5 days, and thought Vic was entirely guilty, and that all the voice actors were telling the truth. But then he started asking questions, and most of Kick Vic, even the voice actors, were not giving him answers, nor were they even giving him the time of day. And as such, he became I stand with the Vic based on that. And I can actually name him as well.
Okay. But the problem
If you
there.
want,
What?
if you want his name, you just have to ask, and I'll give it.
Okay. What's his name?
Michael 1800.
Okay.
And he's also compiled a document for arguments. I am not using it right now because I just don't see a reason to use it.
Okay, that's fine and all, but the thing is, though, um, this court case isn't a popularity contest. It doesn't matter if like all the public or none of the public agree with either side.
Well, the GoFundMe, uh, Nick actually said this as well. This GoFundMe is not just for legal expenses. It is, granted, it's a huge part of it, but it's also for one other reason.
Salvation Army.
Nope, not even that.
Well, then
This
go on.
is a statement by the fans of Vic Mignogna. This is a statement.
Yeah. No, I don't buy that at all. It's like, oh, great, we gave Ty Beard like a shit ton of money, and maybe we gave a smaller shit ton of money to the Salvation Army, and I guess GoFundMe got a cut of that. That to me is like, what? I gotta scratch my head at that. Why instead of making a statement like this is kind of like, I mean, I don't want to like bring up old shit that doesn't matter anymore, but this is kind of like what IA said about Gamergate. Why not just take the money and use it for something useful? In this case, use it for your own conventions. I do mean conventions plural. If you're able to raise $250,000, you could run 5 conventions with that. Like, I mean, like you guys have a lot of money. If you guys are spread out, you can easily go to the same place. I bet a lot of you guys are probably in the same area, and you can figure out how to navigate there. Set it up. Have people like people are setting up discords and stuff around this stuff. Just have them set up their own little communities and have them coordinate to that place and invite whoever the fuck you want. You want to invite Vic Mignogna? Invite Vic Mignogna. You want to invite I don't know, like Doug Ted Nepal. You want to invite him? You want to invite the other Comicsgate people? Invite them there. If you want to really make a statement with finances, I mean, like use it. Go capitalistic. Don't go political.
I'm not sure how they're going political with this whole thing. I mean, I know that Kick Vic has gone political, calling I stand with the Vic people alt-right Nazis.
Well, I mean,
the whole.
Yeah, let me just say
and
right off the bat, like, if you think that like Kick Vic is alt-right Nazis, I mean, like,
no, with Kick Vic has been calling I stand with the Vic and Vic supporters alt-right Nazis.
well, oh, I'm sorry, I fumbled my words there, just getting late. So, what I meant to say was, if you're calling I stand with Vic alt-right Nazis, I don't know what's wrong with you. Like, I don't really like, honestly, like they're not alt-right Nazis is the best I can say. I haven't seen any evidence or indication of that whatsoever. Like,
the only time they seem to show for proof is when the Reasonable Rangers say called Vic the Fuhrer one.
yeah,
in
like,
reference to Full Metal Alchemist, and that was I mean, it's just something fun. It's just a reference to an anime, and even if it was a villain, who cares? It doesn't mean anything, and that's one of the that's one of Jay Sean Lemoyne's questions of line of questioning for Vic Mignogna. Are you aware that you were called the Fuhrer? And are you aware that of anyone else calling you the Fuhrer? And are you aware that of anyone besides Adolf Hitler that has been called Fuhrer.
Well, Vic should have, honestly, in that case, like, yeah, I've heard this before. Yeah, there is a character called the Fuhrer on Full Metal Alchemist. He could have made the defense of that.
He
But
actually did.
oh, well, then there you go. Like, I mean, like, honestly, I'm not saying that dog whistles don't exist, because sometimes people do use phrases and stuff like that to indicate some kind of like white nationalist shit, but I'm not seeing that here, like, at all. I just think that's a buzzword that people like. There might, like, maybe you can find, oh well, if you find this person's connected to this person's connected to that person, they're a Nazi racist because of this 4 degrees of separation. Okay, whatever. Or there's this guy in Comicsgate who's an alt-right Nazi. Okay, that's just that one guy in Comicsgate. What does that have to do with this? I don't know.
I mean, I'm
Like,
not sure if you're aware of Perfect Contrarian.
perfect
Um,
contrarian.
Yeah, she's been very vocal about being against Vic. In fact, she even came into one of my threads once before she blocked me. She said how Vic was being really was sexually harassing people at the convention she staffed at or ran. I don't know which it was. It's been since April that she's blocked me, but and I asked her, okay, fine. Can you at least tell me what the convention name and year it happened? And she said, yeah, right. As if I'm going to show some, as if I'm going to get doxxed by some rando on the internet who's a alt-right sex deprived jerk.
I mean, like, I don't know. I don't like seeing people, like, honestly, I prefer it when people argue back rather than take that approach most of the time.
Well, either either way, the convention she staffed at was revealed because they stepped up, and that would be TechoCon, and they are really, really mad at her for dragging Vic's name through the mud.
Yeah. I like. Anyway, I don't really have a comment on that one. But even I think that, like, this discussion has been interesting. I get, like, do you want to make a closing statement on your position?
Okay, well, this has been a rather interesting. I'm not going to back down from what I believe in. If there's any evidence of Nick or Ty basically using the GoFundMe in any frivolous ways, I will absolutely denounce them and will definitely unsubscribe from Nick's YouTube channel. And but on the flip side of that argument, if Vic is in fact unable to prove the defamation case, then I don't know what to say. If he did, if some more evidence pops out besides stories that Vic actually sexually harassed uh, all these people, then I will denounce him. I'll just keep moving on. Uh, but until then, I'm just going to sit back and watch how the lawsuit turns out. I'm not going to say he's going to win, but I'm not going to say he's going to lose either.
All right. Well, I'm confident in saying that. I'm confident in a couple things. One, Vic isn't this innocent good boy who doesn't do nothing. I think he, like, I don't think that's the case anymore. I never did think that was the case in the first place. I always was suspect of him, but he's been admitting to several things and lately, and he's been changing his story as well. Like he's admitted things since the beginning just don't add up and don't make a lot of sense. Like
One thing I gotta ask is how is he contradicting himself?
I mean, maybe contradict isn't the right word, but it's like his maybe he himself is not contradicting everything, but like there are contradictions in what people are saying that are defending him. Like, oh well, he's such an innocent man, he didn't do anything, and then it turns out that yeah, he did do some things. He did hook up with women at these conventions. He did that anecdote where he went ahead, he grabbed that woman's hair and he pulled it. That was a
Can
true
you give
story.
a little more context? I mean, what he's been accused
Look.
of
Even
is
if there's,
sexually
I don't want
harassing
to go
people.
ahead and rehash that because even if there's more context to it than is being let on, the original story was this never happened. It's changed to well, it's not as bad as it appears. Like that's really a shift from there. I've seen a lot of the narratives go from like, oh well, um, this event never happened and this event never happened. A lot of the arguments defending Vic just don't really add up. So yeah, I think that Vic has been guilty of a lot of dumb shit that he's done, and he shouldn't have done it. Like I don't think that can I confidently say that every single accusation has been true? Well, actually, no, I'll not say that every accusation hasn't been true. Like that one woman who accused Vic of swatting, like it was proven that she forged evidence. Like she just took
Oh,
photos.
Samantha in no way Hart.
Yeah, like there's no way that Samantha was telling the truth there. Like she was a complete liar. Like I mean, people can spin it like, well, she just reused photos from another swatting incident. Yeah, no, that's bullshit. You don't reuse like if you wanted to prove that it happened, show the police report. Like that's how you do. That's how you take care of that real quick. Redact any personal
They are.
information. Done.
They've actually been saying it. She did file it, but it's been proven that it's a false police report.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't get why they're not suing. Like, if they wanted to sue someone, sue her. Like, you got malice of intent there. You could well, I guess the problem there would be proving damages, but at least there you got malice of intent.
The problem is that it wasn't directed at Vic himself.
Oh yeah, there's also that, I guess.
So if it wasn't directed at Vic himself, that it could he couldn't sue. If she was directing it at a particular person, again, that could have landed her in a lawsuit. But she didn't direct it at a single individual. She just directed it at the I Stand with the Vic movement.
Yeah, you're actually correct about that. But yeah, that was a complete lie. I don't think Shane's an honest dude either. Like he tried to, play the middle card and try to come off as Vic's best friend, and he was completely like, I don't like Nick Rekieta, but the way Shane acted on that stream, like, I would be embarrassed to know that guy. Like, I would be embarrassed to be friends with him. Like the way he acted there, completely like it was just very two-faced the way he was coming off, where he would be on there saying that like, oh yeah, I really want to support Vic out. I really want to do what I can, and like he would be like, I'm typing this thing out. I can't show you what it is, but I'm definitely gonna try to help Vic with this way. I don't know what his angle was or what he was trying to do with that stream, but that was just retarded. And there's been other.
Judging from his actions in that stream, I think he was trying to get it across that Vic isn't going to sue anybody.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he was scared that the lawsuits would actually work, but that's no excuse.
By the way, in the chat, I actually noticed this from Coolman229. This is shade levels of obnoxious.
Yeah, I read that comment. Well, what else am I supposed to say? Like, if the guy wants to say I'm acting like Shane because I don't think the lawsuit's gonna win, and I think that Nick and Ty are just ripping people off with their GoFundMe, okay, he can think that it's not true that I'm like Shane because I think reasonable conclusions about things. So,
judging from this, I don't know how close of attention you've been paying to the Vic case. I've been keeping fairly good tabs on it. Uh, I I just don't see how you can say Vic is definitely going to lose. I mean, there's always the possibility of settling. There's always the possibility of settling, in which case neither party wins.
I mean, like there's always well, as far as settling goes, I don't see that at this point because if that was to happen, it would have been proposed early on. It wouldn't have like okay. Actually, I do see one way that could happen. The way that could happen is if they drag it out long enough that through exhaustion, the defense decides, you know what, we fold, we'll settle, and then that's that. Like, I mean, you know what? No, I don't see it as a possibility. The reason I don't see it as a possibility is because at this point, I don't think the lawyers are going to sit this one down. I don't think they're going to be like, I don't think they're going to rack up the legal costs at this point. I think they want, I don't think they would want to suffer that embarrassment because they don't want to risk Rick Rekieta, like, bad mouthing them. They don't want to be suppressed under the slack. Frankly, I don't think that their motion to dismiss, I'm confident enough to even say the motion to dismiss will be approved by the judge. Starting with the Funimation one, which I've seen most of I Stand With Vic back down from the Funimation one. I think that's the weakest case. I don't think that will go anywhere, and I think that Ty and Nick will probably try to appeal it, but there's not any route to victory with that at all. Like, there's just no way that you can sue them for them dismissing. Like, it's not even firing an employee. Even, I mean, it's just no longer working with a contractor and saying the reason why is because they did an investigation and they decided they weren't going to work with him. There's no defamation in that message. There's nothing false at all. Like, you could say, oh, well, that hurts his reputation. Well, what, you want them to lie that he's still working for the company so his reputation is intact? It doesn't make any sense. Like,
but what actually here's the thing. I didn't know Scott Freeman was fired until the Vic case. I never knew he retired from voice acting or that he was arrested for that for being
yeah,
a
but that
pedo.
doesn't have anything to do with Funimation letting go.
Actually, it sort of helps in Vic's favor of what I'm citing,
No,
because Funimation was hush hush, but with Vic, for some reason or another, they decided to announce it publicly, and even though they emailed him and said, "We will not make any public statements."
yeah, but going against their word isn't like what they're being sued for. Like, they're being sued for defamation, notorious interference, and conspiracy, which I haven't seen any evidence of the conspiracy charges at all. So I don't even
Um,
have to address that one. Like the other two,
yeah,
um,
either
notorious
way,
interference. Go ahead.
my idea for uh, most of the Kick Vic and I Stand With the Vic is just sit down, wait it out. If Vic loses, then he's clearly guilty of some crimes. If um, if uh, if the defendants win, fine. They win. They get to say, "Yay, we won, we won." But at the end of the day, their careers are in shambles.
Yeah. End of the day, in my view, I think that one, um, this fundraiser it's a scheme. It's a means of making people money. It's not a means of seeking justice. Two, I think that people should stop donating it for that reason. But even if you don't agree with that reason, there's not really a justification for giving them more money after the ridiculous stockpiles they've managed to gather together for this lawsuit. And three, um, what I fear is going to happen, what I predict is going to happen with this at the end of it is like after the lawsuit's dismissed, I see people digging their heels in. I don't see people going, I don't see people taking a reasonable approach to that and going like, okay, maybe we were wrong to support. Maybe the lawsuit was a bad idea. I don't see them saying that. I see them going, you know what? We got to appeal this. The judge is in on it. The judge is wrong too. We got to go ahead and resist the system. We got to fight this thing. We got to make sure that our case is bulletproof, and they'll keep on believing it even after they've been shown to be incorrect. That's honestly what I think is going to happen, and I think that that's not a good thing. And I think people.
Whoa. It sounds like you've been drinking a bit of the Kool-Aid there, bud.
How am I drinking Kool-Aid?
You're drinking a bit of the SJW Kool-Aid.
What are you talking about?
Most of the Cake Vic is saying similar crap like that, and most of the people I've talked to have said we're if Vic's basically they say the same stuff I do.
I mean, I'd be happy to prove it wrong about that. I'd be happy if people go like,
okay, watch Hero Hey sometime when he starts talking about the stuff, or in one of his live streams, I forget the title, where he said that he's actually going against his bias with the Monica and JB because he loved Dragon Ball growing up, and he's going against these heroes of his to support Vic.
No, you don't understand. It's not because they were fans of like the anime shows that it puts them in this position. It's that they've been sold this idea, they've been given this purpose that they're fighting for justice, and like the counterculture aspect of it does put into it, like you're fighting for your hobby, you're fighting for justice. Those sorts of things get grasp a certain type of demographic, and it makes them zealots, and it makes them very politically like I don't want to say politically charged necessarily, but it usually does lead to more political type stuff. But it makes them very active, very motivated, and very willing and eager to do stuff. Which, by the way, if there's an election coming up, that would be useful to certain people who want certain people to be elected. Just figured I'd throw that out there.
I sort of disagree because the politically, I will say this: I am not as big of a fan of my hobbies nowadays as I once was, like comics and Western cartoons and video games, at least the AAA video games. I'm not as big of a fan of those because they hire these weird consultants that love to inject some sort of political message, some sort of a political background.
And it doesn't work at all.
Nope, but since they're ruining those things, and when they say the fans of those things were toxic, and we don't need you anyway, go make your own, or some crap like that, and then they go and make their own, and then the same people that basically pushed those people out, they are now being attacked again over politics and all that. Where do you think those people that they push out of their hobbies are going to go and ruin?
I mean, like, I don't like it either that like a bunch of like I don't like what they're currently pushing. Like for example, there's no way you can tell me that the female Thor idea is a good idea. Like, for a couple of reasons. The first one being that the writing of female Thor was just bad. It was just terrible. It was awful. You go ahead and you read that stupid rant that villain gives about how feminists are ruining everything now, and that like he should be fighting like a male Thor, and that he's been sent away by the feminine. Like, it doesn't make any sense in context. It's just dumb. Like, that's just something I expect from bad webcomic writers, to be honest. Completely expect from them. And two, the second thing.
And plus, real quick, this is to give in insight of why I have this position of the whole SJW stuff, and I guarantee a lot of people probably won't like me for it, but I don't really care. My my own mother, she when I saw the Ghostbusters 2016 trailer, she said she said that, oh, it's because it starred all women. And then when the 2016 election came around, she and I said I didn't want Hillary and I didn't want Trump. She said, "Oh, it's because Hillary's a woman that you don't want her."
I mean, that's really retarded of her to say that. Like,
Yeah,
no offense to your, I don't mean to like just go ahead and blatantly insult your mom like that, but that was a dumb thing for her to say.
yeah, I am. I even countered it. She had somewhat of the SJW mindset, but I can't completely call her that because of the fact that she was actually against homosexuality as a whole.
I
So
mean, like, but here's the, well, I mean, she wouldn't be wrong about that, but here's the thing. I'm not going to support something just because the SJWs are against it, or vice versa. I'm not going to be against a thing because the SJWs are for it. Like, for example, I'm not going to support a lawsuit that I see has a 0% chance of winning and two people getting really rich off of false hope. I'm not going to say, yeah, we should support that because those SJWs are triggered by us supporting it. I'm not going to say that a guy who's done a lot of skeevy stuff and is extremely questionable character at this point based on multiple eyewitness, based on multiple testimony coming from multiple sources from multiple people, is good boy, didn't do nothing, and there's that, we should all gather around and support him because the SJWs, it would upset the SJWs. Like I mean, it's just absurd. It's like I like it leads, like, that sort of thinking leads into a lot of really weird conclusions that I can't say are correct. Like, no, the SJWs, quote unquote, are not always wrong. They're not always wrong about certain things. Like, there's certain things that I've seen that has made me go, yeah, like, for example, like, for the longest time, like, like, for example, this has been this big thing against Islam lately, that while there's a grain of truth to it, yeah, there are Muslim terrorists who are murder rapists. The meme has become all Muslims are murder rapists, every single one of them, and that we should ban them all from the country, despite the fact that there are mosques across the U.S. that are full of people that haven't committed any crime whatsoever. But it triggers the libs when you say that, hey, let's ban Muslims from the country, so we should all gather around and support that, right? So when it comes to the Vic Mignogna stuff, I don't think it's a smart idea to support the lawsuit. I don't think that Vic Mignogna is like I don't even think that I don't think Vic Mignogna is a guy of good character, and I'm not going to assume that all these women are just lying, or not even women. It's like this. It isn't just women that are attesting to this. It's also men. Like, people have worked for him for years. Like, his own security, like, people who've worked at his own security team said, yeah, he was being a pervert around the ladies. Like, it's not the correct position to go against what you believe in just because the crowd is doing it, and that's the crowd that you generally agree with is doing it, and the crowd that you generally disagree with is not doing it.
I'm again, I'm not saying that I'm really good with Nick writing with the Nick because the SJWs hate it. Granted, it's a part of it. I mean, for instance, I don't care what your religion is. I mean, I made friends with a couple of Muslims. One of them's in my server. The other I've actually collaborated with in a birthday stream of mine. So I'm not totally against the SJWs. What I am against is burning someone's life down to the ground. Uh, and as long as I will say this, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else, you are allowed to say whatever you want, but I'm not going to say don't hurt feelings or something. What I mean by hurt someone is actively, actively try to destroy their public image and any chance of them of getting back in the industry they were a part of it before or any industry after.
I don't know. I don't agree with that. It would depend on context. Like, for example, so you have a guy who's an action like like one that I don't even think you would disagree with. Like, if it was a case where you have a confirmed rapist, like gaining clout at conventions, yeah, I would say no, ban that guy for life from conventions. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, if there was evidence, I mean, I've got broken staircase stuff that proves that some of these people were actually doing schemy things at conventions, even the photos of them doing schemy things. Um, but
Yeah, but back
okay,
to the
let me put it this way real quick.
sure.
What if I called you a sex offender, and I started going around telling various people, "Hey, don't go talking with this guy. This is a sex offender." And we started going all over the place, trying to make sure you were separated from your fan base, your company, a a place of work. Make sure, basically, make sure you can't even sustain yourself in life. What would you do then?
I mean, like, I wouldn't be a sex offender, so
No, I'm not saying you are. I'm saying, what if someone actively did what they tried to do with Vic, and say you're a sex offender, and there are many stories collaborating with what I said, and there's nothing other than stories.
I mean, like, it would depend. Like it would depend on what you mean by stories. Like I mean, if they're all made up, I mean, I don't even see that as being a pop. Like, I don't see a scenario like. I mean, yeah, I
Similar
guess
to
I get
like
what you're saying. Like, your logic can be used against you, could potentially bite you in the ass one day. But I don't see a scenario where multiple people coming from different places all come forward and testify that I did these sexually perverted, disgusting things, and the story not be true. I don't really see that as being something that's within reality of this just suddenly happening that, oh, well, people get in their heads that they could just lie about people for no good reason. That's my issue here.
well, there's been plenty of cases, like for instance, Jeffrey Rush. He's had women go after him, and
But
he sued them, and he won.
I don't
Uh,
know the specifics of that case, but like, it's always, yes, it's always possible that you know like a conspiracy could potentially exist, or that a person defames you, or like maybe a couple people together defame somebody. That's sure, it's possible. And then yeah, there's a lot. It's a lot less clear about what's going on. It's not really like a preponderance of evidence there, but people like independently coming out and like accusing one guy of doing this shit, like I'm not like I know a lot of MRAs like to push this for some, but I can't find it. Like I can't find a scenario like before the internet where there would be these guys who are big popular celebrities who would be accused by women who just all of a sudden woke up and decided to lie and decided that this guy raped them because they just made it up because women do that. It's what they do. They're they're evil, horrible people that just lie about someone like that.
I would say it's just women. I mean,
Well, sure. I mean, like men,
the
women. It you can replace it with like it doesn't it like I'm not trying to say like I'm not trying to paint you specifically as misogynist or anything, but I like okay, I get your point. It's kind of unfair to me just to point out women. It doesn't really matter if you want to. You can use women, men, or women. It doesn't matter. The point being that I don't see this as a realistic scenario.
well, you clearly haven't been paying attention to a lot of the Me Too stuff or anything for like that for in recent years because I've
Well, Me Too is a
actually
bit more complicated than just all the Me Too cases are true or all the Me Too cases are bullshit.
I've never said that. I mean, Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby are proof that Me Too had some good roots. Uh,
Honestly, I don't like. Well, I haven't really looked at the Harvey Weinstein, the Bill Cosby. It does seem to me that he was guilty of what he did. Perhaps
well,
not
he
all the
admitted he was guilty.
yeah. Like I don't think that
Um,
all the women necessarily that came out of the woodwork and accused him were telling the truth.
that's the reason why he was able to get convicted is because like one case fell within the statute of limitations, so he was able to be tried there.
Yeah, something like that. It was a really weird. It was a really weird case, but like I don't see like I just don't see why people are like, and even if you disagree with me, like you believe that okay, Vic is innocent. In my heart of hearts, I believe Vic is innocent. I don't really I'm just going to ignore all the witnesses and just ignore the fact that Vic's confirmed some of the incidents and ignore the fact that um Vic's not as good as of a guy as he portrays himself to be. Um, I'm
There's a reason why I stand with Vic. Ignores the witnesses. It's not that we don't listen. It's because it's usually second hand. It's not first hand. It's usually, oh, I heard from my friend who works at cons that something happened.
yeah,
Um,
that's yeah. If it's just hearsay, that's just bullshit. But if it's a person that's actually saying like they're swearing before the court under penalty of perjury, like like the um the TP like the motion to dismiss by Ron Toye and Mata Corral has like 10 affidavits attached to it, like 10.
yeah, and a couple of them are actual are actually discredited. For one thing, Michelle Specht, she seemed really angry in her affidavit. So I I don't know how much stock they're going to get to put into her
Okay, even if we
affidavit.
say like even for sake of argument, if we just say we discount two of them, we say okay, two of them are discredited. That's still 8 affidavits for attached to that deposition. Like at that, there comes a certain point where it's like, okay, that's not just a little bit of evidence; it's a lot of evidence, and it's not. It's like, and then there's people like, and then there's people who say, oh well, what about guilty until proven innocent? Well, it's guilty until proven innocent beyond reasonable doubt, not guilty until proven innocent. Maybe never. I mean,
You said guilty until proven innocent instead of innocent until
okay,
proven guilty.
well, all right, yeah, you got me on that one. I fucked that
Because
up.
because I asked that of several people on Kickvic, and they said, "Oh, that's only in a court of law," and we got it to a court of law. Even though they kept on saying, "Oh, it's not going to make it to court. It's not going to make it to
No, no, no,
court.
no. You
There's not going to
misunderstand
be."
them. You misunderstand them. What they're saying is that only applies in a criminal case trial to prevent incarcerations. That is, if Vic was on was the defendant, um, which and Vic isn't the defendant, and must be firmly established. Vic is
This
not on
was
trial.
actually before this was actually before the lawsuit came to light. This was when the narrative was strictly Kick Vic. Uh, but since then, it's been swinging back and forth between Kick Vic and I Stand with Vic.
Yeah,
It's uh,
but going to
it's
the
in a middle ground to where the narrative won't really shift until there's a actual conclusion to this case, or
it's gonna
if
last a while because even after like it's gonna go to appeals regardless of what the judge decides, and then it's gonna last years. So it's gonna be around. It's gonna be kicking around for a while until people get tired of it. I just want people to wake
I
up sooner than rather than later.
I honestly don't know what I mean. Like I said, there's a lot of variables in this case that I don't know if they've been seen before but I know that there's some very, very, very questionable things within both the depo- both the defendant's depositions and the plaintiff's deposition. So it's in a very, very weird place.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, I don't see this lawsuit going anywhere. I see the arguments like you mentioned law Twitter before. Like, yeah, a lot of people on law Twitter aren't actually lawyer. Like, they're not really going to trial and stuff like that. They have law degrees, but they mostly just use them to like talk about the law. I get that, but um, their arguments aren't wrong because the law is the law, and it's either that you're correct about it or not. It's either you can back up your stuff with either by citing specific legislation or case law. Case law would be the applicable thing here, or rules of procedures, etc. These things are written down, and like Nick just gets things wrong on a regular basis to a
It,
point where it's just it just like the stuff that like people like to make fun of Greg Duchette because he tweets a lot or he's um what else is there? Like they accuse him of all these things where he got a ridiculous reward called a super lawyer, but you don't
yeah,
need to take.
and Casey Erics is a super lawyer as well, Monica and Ron's lawyer. And at this point, I'm just wondering what the point of being a super lawyer is.
Yeah, to be honest, it does legitimately sound goofy, but the thing is, you don't need Greg's credentials. Like all you need is just hey, because the thing is, Greg actually cites his shit. He actually goes about and actually points out, well, in case law here, in this code of conduct here, and it's not code of conduct in this
It,
procedure here.
it all depends. It all depends really of what they're citing. Are they citing Texas law or are they citing the law within their own state?
He's citing Texas law specifically.
So does Nick Rekieta and Ty Beard.
Yeah, but they cite it incorrectly. Like it took like for example, Nick and Ty were confusing a very basic thing. Now they were conflating malice of intent, which is a statute for proving intent when committing a crime. That is that you willingly did something, like you didn't just do something by accident, you deliberately did something, with actual malice, which by the way, these two terms should have different names to avoid confusion like this. But regardless, actual malice refers to. Well, I already explained what actual malice is, but to repeat, it's when you write something in a defamation suit where you write or say something knowing the information is false. Like, you don't prove malice of intent by, oh, I wrote something maliciously against somebody and that defamed him. No, that's not what that means. Like, so the whole thing about whenever Ty Beard says, oh, well, if you don't think I can't prove actual malice with 300 to 400 tweets, then you're wrong, buddy. I can absolutely do it. It doesn't matter how many times they tweeted. What matters is if they, like, the 5 points of defamation are, they made a statement, 1, that is false, 2, that caused damages to somebody, 3, that what was the 4th one? That there's a 4th one. Oh, I skipped one. That's they made a statement that it's false, that they published to at least one other person, that caused damages that they knew was false at the time of writing it. Like, you need those 5 points in order to win a defamation suit. And on points, on 2 of those points, the point of making a statement that they knew was false, and it's up to the plaintiff to prove that. The burden of proof does not shift to the defendant; it remains with the plaintiff throughout the case. And the other one, proving damages, there's exceptions to the proving damages one, but it doesn't apply in this case. They're not succeeding on those 2 points, and unless since I'm not believing like magic miracles happening all of a sudden, and like I don't think God's gonna look down at this case and decide that he's gonna like shift his hands and Vic Mignogna is just gonna win. I don't believe that's gonna happen. I don't see this case, like, even if Vic Mignogna was 100% innocent of everything, because they can't substantiate those two, I don't think this case has a chance. So, all right, I think I'm going to end it there. All right, J-Man, it was great having you on. I don't mean to throw you out, but it's like it's getting late, so I have to wrap up the show. It's just like,
Yeah, no problem.
hey, it's fine. Like, it seems to be the case whenever I have a guest on, the show goes on for much longer than usual. So,
Yeah, now you see why Nick streams sometimes last over 3 hours.
yeah, like I wish they were a bit shorter though, because like I can't sit through 3 hours of Nick Cicada. It's just torture. It's like I have to tune to something else. It's like I like the guy is just so smug about everything. It's aggravating. I can see why he gets under
Well-
people's skin.
Well, if you don't want to pay attention to Nick, there are others you could pay attention to that cover similar things, and they're a little more cool-headed. They at least try to be uh, be knowledgeable at this as much as Nick is, or at least in terms of law. Sorry if I refer to Nick a lot, but Nick, he just has he's the only lawyer I know of that's on our side.
like that leads into another conversation, which I'm not going to bring up tonight. So, on that note, you all have a good night. For anyone listening, if I got anything wrong, especially about the legal stuff, correct me. I'm not a lawyer. Do correct me. If you are a lawyer and you know some shit I got wrong, post a comment and say, hey, actually, here it is. Or if you're not a lawyer and you can cite, like, what the law actually is, where I got some shit wrong, post a comment and say so, because I don't want stupid shit to stand, even if it's coming from me. Other than that,
Go ahead and do the same with the B guys, because I'm not a lawyer either. In
Yeah.
fact, I never even went to college, so go ahead and hit me up if I got a.
right. With that being said, I plan on doing another stream like this where I have another I Stand with Dick supporter. If I'm also thinking about maybe having like a Kick Dick supporter on, but I got a funny feeling based on some of the politically incorrect shit I say on the show on a regular basis, they'll see that as some kind of endorsement of my views or something like that. So I doubt that'll be the case.
They definitely see you as a as someone that endorses them, considering that you've gone. Uh, from what I've seen, you would tend to go against some of the anti SJW crowd. So I can see why they did take it as an endorsement.
I mean, like, I really don't care one way or the other what they think. I just think that there's some points that I don't agree with them on, that it would be interesting to challenge some of their positions on, and that would be the reason to have them on the show. Otherwise, yeah, I do want another I Stand with Dick supporter on the show, and have another one of these debates. Other than that,
I'd honestly try DMing that umbrella guy.
all right, well, if he wants to come on, he's more than welcome to come on. All right, that's a wrap. I'm going to close out the stream. Have a good night, y'all, and I'll see you next time.
See ya.